It's that time again. Welcome to the stage. Oh yeah. Where energy and creativity collide. Here we go. Let's level up. Make this something to remember. All right.
What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to NACE Star Leagues. We are kicking off the week as we always do, and that is with some top-tier Rocket League action. I am Septilence, joined by Powder to bring you 4 amazing series with high hopes of our first Game 4 of the season. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. Powder, how you doing, man?
Septilence, I'm doing fantastic. We are halfway through the regular season, and these teams, as you make that push toward the back half, you start to realize that the season is ending shortly. So all of these wins in these matches are huge, and so it's very exciting to watch, and I just can't wait to get into that tonight.
Without a doubt. And it's so funny because 2 weeks ago, I was sitting there talking about, oh, you know, a loss right now isn't that important. Here we are 2 weeks later, halfway through the season. This is where those losses really start adding up. If a team finds a loss here, that can be incredibly detrimental to that team down the line. So every single team we see today, there are going to be 8 of them, really have a lot to fight for.
Certainly, I'm taking you through the season format first. Like I said, 8 weeks of the regular season, followed up by conference play, and the top seed, we'll get into that, and into the conference championship as well. And the last chance qualifier for those 2 and 3 seeds, leading into a 16-team playoff, which will narrow their way down to an in-person grand final event the first weekend of December. And as we keep saying, Septilence, we're getting back into the in-person events. That is what everybody is grinding towards.
Without a doubt, we've got 8 teams fighting for that opportunity at that in-person event here today. We've got University of Missouri, they're 2-0, going up against Cleary University, sitting at 1-2. University of Southern Mississippi, 2-2 against Rochester, who's 3-0. Lackawanna, they're 2-1 versus Wichita State University, they're 2-1. East Tennessee State University, they are 2-1, and Florida Southern College, our 4th school today, Powder, to be sitting at that 2-1 scoreline. So, folks, we talked about that coveted Game 4, maybe even that Game 5, and matches 3 and 4 are the places we think that's going to happen here today.
It really looks like it. You know, we've had a little bit of lopsided matches for the first couple of weeks, but as we now get into this one where teams have had time to warm up, they've had time to get things ready, and it really feels like we might finally be able to see that Game 4 tonight. One can only hope. We do see some very powerful teams in here as well. Missouri, you know, making CRL yesterday. So some great teams and some exciting matches sure to come.
Without a doubt. And for those who may be unfamiliar, we've got some scholarship prizing kind of lined up as well. You're looking at 3rd place, that's $375, 2nd place, $750, and 1st place is $1,500, which I don't know about y'all, but to me, that is quite a lot of money. So that is definitely something to be fighting for, and that's just something that all these students are working towards while they sit at home and play video games, which is always very neat to talk about because there's that negative stigma around it, but we are here to prove that stigma false. And of course, a huge shout out to Extra Life, change kids' health to change the future. Join their super team page today. We very much appreciate Extra Life and everything they do.
Certainly, and as we start to talk about the first match today, it is that Mizzou and Cleary first getting into Rocket League. If you haven't watched before, 5-minute games, unlimited overtime, golden goal. And best of 5 games will win the series. We play on default settings, and the home team will take the blue side. And so exciting games ahead tonight. Like we said, all of these teams coming in, or only a couple coming in undefeated, but with many sitting there with both wins and losses on the board, certainly an opportunity to get some very, very close matches that we haven't gotten to see quite yet.
We saw quite a few overtimes last week. I think there were 3 across the 4 series that we saw. So we've seen a couple of teams get neck and neck, 1 point differential. But at the same time, we have seen 8 3-0 series in a row. So it's like we're getting close. We haven't made it there quite yet. And as we are finally getting ready to jump into that week 4 with Mizzou versus CU, I can only hope that at least one of these series today takes us to that Game 4.
Certainly, Mizzou and Cleary. This one is going to be a little bit rough. You know, Mizzou has been, you know, the top dogs of collegiate for a very long time. They even won NACE in, I want to say it was fall 2019. They took the top spot. And I don't think any players are left over from that roster, but still we talk about these schools who have history in NACE, and Mizzou is certainly one of those teams. Cleary, a little bit of a newcomer. I've gotten to see them before, and they have made significant strides from last year to this year. This is a team that can contend with Mizzou, but when you go up against a team who is perennially making collegiate Rocket League, it's going to be a little tough for them.
Yeah, Mizzou is not going to be one of those teams to kind of lay down easily. If you're going to win this, it is going to require 150% from your entire roster. And I'm really excited because, you know, I'm very, keep it 100 with chat. I have never seen either of these teams before. And I'm very excited to see what they can both bring to the table, because Powder gave me a whole rundown of Mizzou's history before this series getting to start. And I'm really excited to see, you know, this is another one of those teams. Are they going to live up to those shoes? Are they going to live up to that potential that we know they have? And as you can see, you know, it's going to be the 2-0 versus the 1-2. So statistically speaking, Mizzou is definitely in a comfortable spot heading into this series.
And it is interesting to me seeing Cleary come in at 1-2, because my own school got to play them a couple weeks ago in their NACE match. And you know, Cleary, I got to see them last year as well, being in a local conference to us, and like I said, significant improvements from them roster-wise. So I'm excited to see how they contend with Missouri, because, you know, again, Missouri just one of those big dogs in collegiate, always making CRL, always near the top of NACE, and even with some new players coming in, making CRL yesterday, it's going to be tough for Cleary, but I'm excited to see if they can stretch the series out a little bit longer, you know, maybe even bring it to a Game 5. Certainly seems like a roster that can do it.
There's absolutely going to be a roster here today that can do it. And, you know, we did do predictions, which is a new thing we're hoping to start because, you know, it's fun. Why not do it? And Powder and I definitely both agreed on University of Missouri winning that. Now, personally, for me, that just goes off, like I said, those raw statistics. I don't know these teams. It was very difficult to look at them and be like, oh, I think one's going to win over the other. But when you're looking at a team that's undefeated against a team that's not, statistics, of course, are going to tell you to vote for the undefeated team.
Yeah, with this, it is tough because I want to see Cleary win. You know, I'm a biased Michigan man. What can I say? But with Missouri, you just can't choose against them. I think Cleary will make this an exciting matchup, but, you know, it's Missouri. I still got them taking the series. I say that this is finally our first Game 4 of the season, and of course I might just have ruined that. But, you know, I've got the chances on a good series, but still, Missouri just too big for them, and I think they got the series today.
And if this isn't our first Game 4, we've got 3 more tries. We've got 3 more tries because, like we talked about earlier, if you know, are just joining us for your school and you haven't seen it in the last couple of weeks, we have seen 8 3-0 series in a row. Not a single diversion from that. We have not seen a 3-1 or a 3-2. We've seen 3-0 8 times in a row, 2 complete weeks in a row. And we are hoping today that curse is broken one way or another.
Certainly, and you know, for these players coming in, if you're Cleary and you know you're going against Missouri, and obviously everybody can see the results from yesterday, who made CRL and who didn't. Missouri, of course, making it on day 1 of the qualifiers as well. If you're Cleary, what do you think your game plan is going in against a team who is just, again, one of the top dogs?
I think this could be one of those situations where the physical is obviously always important. But the mental on this might be even more so, because if you go into this thinking, oh, shucks, we've got to beat an RLC, like if you go with that negative attitude and that negative energy, that might not work out particularly well for your team. But if you go in there, you're like, let's just get as many demolitions as we can. Let's just get as much boost as we can. You look for those smaller opportunities to strike, those opportunistic moments. I think that's a situation in which CU could really thrive.
It really is, and the players have gotten onto the field, already underway with game number 1 of the best of 5, as looks like Missouri is taking the offense first. Trying to break out. Actually, it's Cleary in. The shot beaten out by the defender into the opposite corner. Good start for Cleary. You know, we talked about Missouri, just one of those teams, but a little bit of a struggle at first to keep out of their own half.
Yeah, now this is going to sound like, you know, like a small brain Castro comment here, but trust me, I've got a point in saying it. I think the objective for Cleary right now isn't to score, it's to make sure that Mizzou does not. Because I think if Cleary is going to win, we're going to be looking at a 2-1 or a 1-0. But if they give Mizzou that window to really run away with this and score 4, 5, 6, 7 points on the board, that's where Cleary, I think, is really going to start to fall short. But if they keep Mizzou in kind of a one-track situation, they keep the score as low as possible for as long as possible, I think that drastically increases their odds of victory.
It certainly does, and you know, Mizzou starting to break out now with some offense going, a miss there and barely beaten out on the back line. And they still will keep the offense going. Shot towards the back half, put away. and starting to hold this offense a lot longer. Cleary starting to struggle, shot coming in, and it is put away by the defense. Doing anything they can to break out, just can't get it done yet. Shot wide that time and placed to the corner.
That is probably the third attempt we've seen from Mizzou, but the first one to not be interrupted by Cleary themselves. That was just a little bit off to the side of the goal, gave them the opportunity to keep it at that 0-0 scoreline. 2 minutes already off the clock. Mizzou has been pounding this toward goal time and time again, and that might, but will not, be the opening. What a demolition from Roach there to swing things back open in favor of Cleary. Mizzou takes it high. It's going to be caught off by Roach. He tries to take it off to the side of center field, but instead it is stolen away in front of and away from goal. Once again, it is just a back and forth right now. But that first goal finally on the board. Excel from Mizzou, going to put them in the lead. 2:57 left on the clock.
And you know, it took a lot longer than I thought it was gonna. Cleary put up a fantastic fight on the back line, but with this much pressure, you're gonna crack eventually. Mizzou gets through just over 2 minutes in. They're finally on the board.
Cleary is down, but certainly not out. We've talked a million times about how 1 point can be the fakest sense of comfortability that you've ever seen in a game like Rocket League. Cleary needs one small opportunity to strike, and their defense has been incredibly strong. If they can come through with an offense that's just as strong, I really think they can take Mizzou down the wire and just to the ropes here. It's going to be Mizzou with immediate ball control once again. Backs it down towards center field, and there is nobody to catch that in time. Excel with that second shot on goal. Not even a minute off the clock since that first goal, and they're already up 2-0.
And this is set up by an unfortunate overcommit from Cleary. You can see, I think it was Roach underneath. Start to cheat up a little bit. Not seeing the man on the side wall. Brings it back into the half. Easy goal for Mizzou. Nearing halftime, that lead stretched out 2-0 now. And Cleary has not been able to find the offense like they did early on. They held the pressure and I think caught Mizzou off guard. But since then, a little bit of a struggle. And, you know, Mizzou on offense once again, taking a soft shot, a little bit high. Defender can't catch up. Omen coming in, though, to at least place it to the side. Cleary just not able to find a way to get an offense back going. It's Mizzou holding it again.
Mizzou with that ball control once again. Omen the 8th tries to find a little bit of something, but Crims is there to steal away all that momentum, and even the boost off the back. Goes for the double tap into the far of goal, but it's going to kiss that sidebar and not find that third point for Mizzou. That third point's where they could really feel comfortable with only 2 minutes left on the clock. You know, pretty secure they're going to be able to win the game, but Cleary, they're 1 point away, Powder, from really getting ready to flip this series on its head. But your first step with that is to get ball control, and they have not had that in quite a while.
No, they haven't. Like I said, those first 30 seconds were excellent for Cleary, and I really do think that they caught Mizzou off guard with all the offense. But since then, Mizzou's calmed down a little bit, and they've controlled it ever since. It is on their half again, not for long. Good pass out, but it's a double commit from Cleary. The communication not there. Now the bump, it's an open net and an easy shot for Crims. 3-0 Mizzou.
Now, that is going to be... I think I'm confident to say the nail in the coffin here of game one. We've got 80 seconds left, and we've seen with the rest of time that Cleary has had ball control, I would say probably 5 to 10% of the time. The other 90 in favor of Mizzou. And as long as Mizzou keeps this kind of pedal-to-the-metal gameplay, as long as they keep this hyper-aggressive play style, it's realistic that they're going to walk away with this, keeping Cleary on that 0.
It is, and it's still a struggle for them. They just have not been able to find a way back onto offense. Even when they get a clear like this, it's usually just a desperation attempt to get it out. It goes right back into the hands of Missouri. Roach with an opportunity. Forward again, and Whale rotating back is able to make the turn on it. Tom K is there in time to at least take a challenge. Oh, and a good 50 out, but Crims the immediate turn, seeing the play happen, getting the stop made. Missouri will return to offense, and as the clock continues to tick down, Mizzou continues to hold the possession. Really starting to look like Mizzou's going to walk up to a 1-0 lead.
A 1-0 lead, only 40 seconds away, and I'm going to use these 40 seconds, Powder, to talk about my favorite thing, that, of course, being physicality. Mizzou, they have really come through strong, and I think they found more demolitions in this game than a lot of teams have found in the full series we've seen them in. I think that's really been part of the reason that Cleary has had no ball control, is every time they touch the ball, they explode seconds later, and it's so difficult to recover from that, especially when it's happening over and over. Your team really struggles to A, reestablish communication, and B, find even a moment where Mizzou's not collapsing on top of you.
Right, it's tough when you're constantly getting demoed to even have a consistent rotation. You know, you're taken off the field, you get thrown off of your normal 3-man rotation, you're down to 2 for a few seconds, and it's really made it tough for Cleary to, like you said, gain possession of the ball and control it in the offensive half. Game one, a little bit of a struggle for them, and they're going to have to find a way to respond in game two.
Absolutely. And I'm going to talk back to the first half, maybe the first 90 seconds of game one, where Cleary was very, very successful on that defense, almost entirely due to Omen the 8th. I think there was a really big play from them. There was a double block just 2 times in a row. Second one might have been luck, might have been skill, who knows, but either way, it got the job done, and it kept things at a 0-0. Maybe Cleary needs to just slow it down a little bit. Maybe they need to play back to those defensive roots, just kind of make sure, like I talked about at the beginning of the game, make sure that Mizzou's not scoring, and then the second that window opens, the second you see that clear, get past center field, just try to collapse on that ball, and somebody should hopefully get ball in goal to put your team at least up by a point.
Right, and Cleary, like we talked about, a little bit of a struggle, but if they can return to what they did early on in game number 1, I like their chances a lot more to make this a little bit of a closer series because, you know, Mizzou kind of showed up there in game 1 after the first 30 seconds or so. They gained the possession, they started taking out Cleary when they had the opportunity, and from there it was just desperation from the Panthers trying to find their way out of their own half. But in game 2, still enough time in the series to make the comeback and try to get this a little bit closer.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of game 1, right? I feel like I say that every week is you've lost game 1 and it's like, oh shucks, we've lost the first game. But on the same side of that, it's like we've still got at least 2 more to come back. So losing that first game is definitely not the end of the world. Now, to be fair, it has been for all 8 teams we've seen play before, but that doesn't mean that's the case for Cleary. There's definitely that opportunity for them to find a single goal, and it could have been a 1-1 tie-up, it could have been a 1-0 victory from Cleary. I think they just need to find a way to increase the longevity of that hyper-aggression we saw at the beginning of the game, the hyper-defense rather than aggression, but if they play with that same level of gusto, if that makes any sense, I think they could find some great successes here against Mizzou.
I really think they can, and you know, they had some success on some counterattacks earlier in game 1. It almost caught Crims off guard on one, but he did make the turn in time. So I think those quick attacks from Cleary might give them some more chances to find their way into the back of the net and get themselves back into it. Still without a goal now as Mizzou, you know, a 3-0 win, a little bit dominating there for Cleary. So some things, again, to turn around in game 2.
Game 2 should be starting in just a moment here as these teams are getting ready, maybe using these minutes to talk about what they want to do differently. You know, from Cleary, are we going to be seeing some kind of boost drought situation come through? Are we going to be seeing an increase in physicality like I'm always asking for from the teams on the losing side of these circumstances? Or are they going to bring out something new entirely? Are they going to go back to the classic textbook plays? Or are they going to try to bring out something that maybe we've never even seen before? Only time can tell, but like we just got confirmation. A couple of tech issues in the background, but hey, that gives us more time to theorize about what's going to be coming out next.
Yeah, if I'm Mizzou, I'd go back to the exact same thing that you just played. You know, it worked well. You won 3-0 against Cleary. So I just go back to the physicality, go back to, and we did see a little bit of boost starvation as well, especially from Crims. He seemed like the man, again, on the back line as well, making that stop in game 1. So I think Mizzou just needs to return to the same physical play style, starve the boost out of Cleary. I think they're going to have a great opportunity to get themselves on match point already.
The match point could just be a couple of minutes away here, Powder. And of course, by a couple, I mean 5, as that is the length of every Rocket League game that we have seen before and will probably be forever. I don't see them changing that anytime soon. I don't know where I was going with this point. What I do know is Mizzou is, like you said, up 1-0. And I think there's a very real world where they end up 2-0 and then possibly take it all the way to the 3. Like I talked about with Cleary, I think I would like to see just a little more. I don't want to use the word consistency because I don't think they were playing poorly. I think I just want to see a little more team communication and coordination when it comes to what do we do once we have the ball. Because they got the ball several times, but it was almost, I think it was always immediately passed right back to Mizzou.
Yeah, and that does kind of lead into my next point as well, is that Cleary, I think they could just use a little bit of confidence. And I don't want to say that they're unconfident players,
Sure.
But with the way that they were playing, it felt like they were just kind of desperate to get it out. They just kind of wanted to get it away from their own half for a moment. But in doing that, they're just giving the possession right back to Mizzou. They need to collect the ball a little more, maybe find some passes to each other. That's something that I'm big about as well, is when you're getting a clear, either completely open space or find a teammate to pass it to get the clear rather than just banging it out. Cleary can get to that, I think they're going to find themselves with a lot more opportunities on offense.
Yeah, and I think that's something that I talked about back in the beginning, or even really before game 1 started, was that kind of like counter confidence of going in against a team that just week 1 qualified, like you said, for RLCS. You're like, okay, we are immediately the David against the Goliath here. So I think that's definitely kind of where that mental comes back into play, of just because it's hard, it doesn't mean it's impossible. And I'm not saying that's how Cleary's thinking. I'm just saying if they are, I would love to see perhaps a little bit of that spin. You've just got to take that lion's share momentum, all that positive mental attitude that you can, and just do your best out here, because I think while University of Missouri has been really strong, I do think they've shown us a couple of cracks in the armor that Cleary could seek to take advantage of in game 2.
They certainly have, but with Mizzou's confidence as well, they, again, a team that is always making the top in almost every league that they compete in. They have that confidence. They know how they need to play, and they certainly brought that in game 1, a very fast game style with a lot of physicality, starting the boost out of Cleary as well. As we start to look towards heading into game number 2, it's something that if I'm Mizzou, again, I would want to stick with that. No reason to change anything major. You got the win in pretty handy fashion in game 1. You want to just move on to game 2, get your victory, and get into match point.
Without a doubt, we are very much of the mindset, and I think on the side of Mizzou is just if it ain't broke, right? I mean, that's really where we're at right now. Is there were a couple of things that were a little bit shaky, a little bit weird, but none of it was detrimental enough to the point of getting scored on. They did win 3-0, so if they bring out that exact same play style, assuming Cleary brings out the same play style we saw, that's where all the variables come into a game of Rocket League. But if Mizzou does what they did once, it worked once. It's worked 100% of the time against Cleary so far. So I don't really realistically think there's anything to majorly change, but I think if there were things to kind of nitpick, I saw a little bit of over-aggression towards boost when they didn't need it. That may have been an attempt at putting Cleary in a boost route, but if that was the attempt, it wasn't well-rounded enough, as Cleary always seems to be near full. So maybe change either full commit to a boost route or don't be as concerned with one. I think that's the only real major thing I saw where I was like, oh, that's a little weird. But again, they won 3-0, so it's a very nitpicky thing.
Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of what you expect when it's a team like Missouri. There's not going to be many things to kind of know of things that they can improve on. Certainly a couple that we saw in game 1, but again, it's game 1 and they won 3-0 anyway, so good gameplay from them, maybe a little bit of a few things to clean up, but right now the adjustments need to be made on the end of Cleary. Otherwise, they might find themselves quickly down 2-0 in this series. We talked about the possession that they need to keep. They need maybe just a little more confidence and some communication as well, because one of those goals was scored on a double commit, and the third man was pushing up, not expecting the double commit. Open net, 2-0 Missouri. So some things to clean up for Cleary, and we have to see if they make those adjustments. Otherwise, they might be in for a very rough rest of the series.
Yeah, undoubtedly. I mean, when we're looking at, from the 8 series we've seen so far, not including this one because it hasn't come to completion yet, we often see a lot of times the team that finds themselves in the losing situation is a team that does not often leave someone in that back third, in that back half. We'll see all 3 players pushed up into the opposing goal, and as we've seen once already today, that's never a good thing to do because it leaves your goal wide open. It gives the opportunity for a team to score. So that's another small change. I think you're right, Powder. That's something that could be done from Cleary here, where they could just leave someone in the back half, maybe even the back third. But I get why some teams don't want to commit to the full back third because sometimes you've got to be playing that midfield. But either way, they've had quite a few minutes to talk about it because this tech issue has been persistent, but that is the way of live production, right? I don't think I've ever done a production that didn't have a tech issue somewhere. So it's just how esports goes and how live production in particular goes. But we will be bringing this series to you guys as quickly as we can. But until then, we just kind of get to talk a little bit more about what's going on, what I can do to continue to talk about things. I tell you guys to follow Nace. Follow Nace Star League on Twitch, that's where we are right now. Follow them on Twitter, and I'm sure they have other social medias, but I don't know them off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure it's Nace Star League both here and on Twitter, so go give those a follow because you want to keep up with what's going on. We've seen 9 unique teams so far. I don't think we've seen any team play twice, and I think we're going to be seeing 3 more today. So 12 unique teams in total. That's pretty cool. That's not even all the teams. So this is just one esport of many that are played in Nace every week. I'm not going to say the days because I don't remember, but I know there are a lot of games, and we will talk about them at some point. So be sure to stick around for that.
And Sephalons, after we just watched game 1, do you think that this is the series to finally give us the game 4? We've had do the math. We've had 8 in a row, so that I can't even do the math off the top of my head. 24 games in a row, something like that, of wins for one specific team. So do you think, after seeing game 1, I'll be honest, I'm not sure if it's going to happen. It just depends on if players taking these few moments to sit down and make the adjustments.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts? Do you think they stretch the series on?
I think there's a possibility, but I don't think this is, statistically speaking, our best chance of that happening today. I think games 3 and 4, we have 2 teams that I believe are both 2-1 or 1-2. Either way, they have all 4 teams have the exact same score, and I want to see those teams really take it all the way to that 4th game. But so before we can even get there, we've got to get through game 2, and it looks like Mizzou is trying to do that as fast as humanly possible. 5 seconds off the clock, and they've already found themselves up 1-0.
And that's just something you got to reset and go next from if you're Cleary. It was just a mistouch on the back wall, leaving the net open. certainly something that's going to happen occasionally. Everybody has mistakes once in a while, but a double commit like that could cost you dearly. Got to clean that one up quickly. It's a pass in the midfield, shot off the crossbar. Is third man pushing up on it? No, instead it's Tom K. He plays it out to the side, which again is just allowing Mizzou to hold this offense. Roach for the goal, trying to get it through, can't find it. Quick start from both teams as Cleary doing anything they can to try to bring this back to even.
And Cleary, they're definitely in one of those down but not out situations. Like you said, if they can bring this back to 1-1, all of a sudden they've brought things back to even, and that's where they're going to be able to find their greatest successes. They immediately try to find that ball away from their own goal. Roach going to miss it, but Tom K is there to catch it now from Crims into XL, taking it high, and we've seen some great success with this aerial gameplay so far. Now, as I say that, XL struggles quite a bit. It actually drops it right down into CU's hands once again. Cleary with a clear of their own, down for that back third, and into goal. There it is, Powder. The doing has been done, and Cleary has tied things up 1-1, 4:03 on the clock.
And you know, at first I was upset based on this angle. I saw Tom K coming up. I thought he was the man trying to go for the ball, but instead he was just looking to sweep the back line. Instead, third man pushes up an aggressive play, but it works out big for Cleary as they get the game tied up. You know, they have offense again. It's an open net. The shot will be wide. XL will take over. And Cleary, maybe some newfound confidence after tying the game.
Oh, they've got to have a little bit, right? I mean, come on. They've scored on Mizzou. This is a big deal. Mizzou just 3-0'd them in the first game, not in the series. And now they've tied things up 1-1. So we're looking at that essentially a 0-0 scoreline. Now, CU had an opportunity there to make it a 2-1, but it was a risk. There was a high risk, low reward. If they missed that, it was going to put ball control right into the hands of Mizzou. And Mizzou is going to have ball control anyway, but Omen the 8th doing exactly what we said needed to be done. Hanging out in the back half, hanging out in the back third, and finding some great success for Cleary, because that was going to be a 2-1 if Omen wasn't right there. Now, okay, to be fair, you can't block them all. I'm not going to pin that on Omen, but the point is, this could be a 3-1 at this point had Omen not been there. So that's another example of a small change, but a pretty major one in favor of Cleary. Now they've got to score again to retie things up.
Yeah, and it seemed like a misrotation from Cleary as well, rotating more towards the middle of the net rather than going back, and the shot right behind him into the net. Mizzou gains their lead right back, but Cleary on offense right after the kickoff. Tom K with a successful challenge. It does go into the hands of Whale. Excel will look for him back in the midfield. Soft shot will actually be off into the corner. And Cleary, I am liking what they're doing with the ball a lot more when they're on defense. It doesn't feel like they're going for desperation clears. They're trying to find each other, and they are finding wide open space. And even though the ball is back in Mizzou's half, you can see that the idea is at least from there.
Yeah, the clears definitely don't seem as drastic. I think you're 100% correct on that. And as we see Omen the 8th going in for a hard defense, a double commit on the defense, and it looks like Mizzou isn't really even going to try to capitalize off the back of it. Instead of it chasing the ball down toward their own goal, going for a reset entirely. Excel takes it high through the entire field from coast to coast, but Roach, with the gentlest tap I've ever seen, prevents one goal. However, Crims was there with that secondary plan. That puts Mizzou up 3-1. We have just now entered the second half.
Yeah, tough play here if you're Cleary. It's just such a soft pass down. Perfect placement there. Knocking home left side. Defense ain't able to catch up to that. Halftime now 3-1 Mizzou. As Cleary, they will find offense again early on, but the pass is too soft. It's right into Excel's hands. Shot is soft. Put away by Cleary. But they're starting to struggle to find the offense more. It's a back pass towards Excel. It's an open net, and he actually misses it. Maybe a chance to be found from Cleary. They do run into each other. It slows it down. They do gain control, but not confidently. It's given away, and unfortunately, Cleary give that one up.
I think Cleary just got in one of those spots, Powder, where they were blocking so many shots, but eventually the dam is going to break and the water is going to come rushing through. You cannot block every shot, especially when Mizzou is so fast to bring in that second, third, fourth, fifth shot. Eventually, one of them's going to get through, and that's exactly what happened from Mizzou there. It's 4-1, 2 minutes left on the clock, and this is unfortunately... okay, a little less unfortunately. All of a sudden, a little bit better, but things are still looking rather bleak for CU. I'm not going to call that luck, but I mean, that definitely did help turn the tide for Cleary. Now they have to do that 2 more times.
And it's a great read off the kickoff as well. It's tough when it's popping off of the corner like that. Excel, I don't think he saw the shot coming, went right behind him, and able to bring it back a little bit closer. They do have the offense again as Omen underneath. Crims will be there for the stop. All 3 in net for Mizzou. Now one taken off the field as they do return to offense, taking the 100 boost as well. Omen the 8th will be able to turn around, gain control, not for long. Net is open again. Roach barely able to get around on it, but this Cleary backline has just been suspect as we see another double commit come out.
Another double commit, and those can spell disaster. Those can be the nail in the coffin in situations just like this. We're down 90 seconds left on the clock. Crims with a great clear, goes for a double tap, falls a little bit to the far right of the goal, and it's not going to be helpful for the team. Now, Mizzou in one of those situations where they don't have to score, but by golly, that is not going to stop them from trying 2 demolitions in less than 10 seconds there. Both of them, I believe, coming from the side of Mizzou. Crims going high. We've seen Mizzou loves to take the ball high, trying to bounce it, double tap it into goal, and they're going to fall just a little bit short once again. Excel with that secondary attempt, a double commit from CU. That can be disastrous, but this time it is going to keep them alive.
And it just seems like Mizzou is kind of wasting time here. Like you said, Clint, they know they don't have to get the score to be able to win this. As long as they control the ball and control the possession, maybe get another goal on the board, they will walk away with the victory here. Another one brings it back to 3, and Cleary might have to fight back for match point after this.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough one. I mean, 5-2, 49 seconds. I think, I don't even know if it's a might, Powder. I think it's an absolute, because we need Cleary to score 3 times in essentially 50 seconds. That's not impossible, but that is not something we see very often. Actually, that's something we see very rarely. So Cleary would have to give us quite the miracle here, and that's one way to start it. I'm just putting that out there. They find the goal. Now they only need 2 more. And something that seems so bleak, so helpless, literally 5 seconds ago. I was so ready to write them off. But, all of a sudden, 2 points feels so much more doable than 3.
It does, and Cleary keeps getting these goals that they'll just be, we take those off
Absolutely.
The kickoff, and then right there, a powerful pinch off the ceiling and in. And like I said, you take those every day of the week. Still time to make the comeback, but you got to get it going quickly. And Whale is just a little bit too quick to it. Doesn't get the ball in the corner, though. Roach will take over. There's nothing left in the tank. Can he get it across the field? He can to his teammate. Shot is on, put away by the defense. And Whale will take it out once more, and this one might just secure it as time really starting to tick down, controlling the possession. And Mizzou looks poised to get on match point.
Absolutely. Everybody loves an underdog, but with a 2-point differential and 6 seconds left on the clock, I think, realistically speaking, that's not something we're going to be seeing here. Not that underdog story, at least not in Game 2. But that's the beauty of what we've got going on, Powder, is there is, at the very least, a Game 3 just around the corner.
And Cleary, they significantly improved in that game. They went from a shutout to 3 goals, and it felt like they were listening to us on the broadcast because they cleaned up most of the issues that we saw. The only one we're still seeing is just those double commits, and it is coming back to bite them. Other than that, though, they cleaned up the clears, they started to find each other, and they started to find open space, and they'd found ways to control the possession more often, and it led to 3 goals and almost a 4th there at the end. It still would have resulted in a loss, but it's a great fight they're putting up against Mizzou. Maybe they can put it together even more in Game 3 to try to bring this one back.
Undoubtedly so. We saw, like you said, the pieces being put together from Cleary here. Now, there was a series last week, Powder, where I referenced, the team that have lost. I said if it was a best of 7, I think that team would have won. And I'm afraid we're kind of looking at that same situation where Cleary's getting better, but are they improving fast enough to win a best of 5 series? They're already down 2 games. They have to win this one, and convincingly, they then have to go on and win 2 more. So it's gonna be difficult. Again, difficult but not impossible, and especially as the slate has been wiped clean here in Game 3, this is Cleary's time to prove me wrong.
Ooh, Mizzou with a double commit, maybe giving some possession to Cleary, but no one deciding to challenge it. That's something you want to be aggressive for if you are Cleary. A double commit on the side of Mizzou could cost them very dearly. They still do get it into the offensive half. As Crims now down in the midfield, over towards Excel, still with control. Flip reset over 1, into the corner, past midfield. Good cut from Tom K. Flick over 1, a powerful one as Omen the 8th is there. Tom K will look to drop this in the midfield. Teammate coming up, it's Roach, but Crims goes over him. That might be an overcommit from Cleary if Crims can get around on this. Pass in the midfield over towards Whale. Shot on and in, and Mizzou has a 1-0 lead.
Mizzou with that 1-0 lead once again, and that is the opportunity they needed to strike. It's so fascinating because we're getting to a point where Cleary, that wasn't a double commit. That wasn't an overextension, but unfortunately it was just a wrong place, wrong time. So they have shown signs of improvement once again, but is that going to carry on into the full game? We're a minute 5 in. Let's see if Cleary can go this entire game, win or lose, without a single double commit, because that sign of growth is what I'm going to be looking for here in Game 3.
And it's interesting because we've seen Mizzou double commit a couple times too. I don't know if it's not necessarily a little bit of overconfidence, but might be a little more relaxed of a play style, knowing they're up 2-0. And it is costing them on those double commits, but Cleary not able to find the back of the net just yet as Mizzou, the double in from Crims, put to the corner. Back in again. It's Excel holding the possession on, losing it there. Oh, but he hits it right into Crims' hands. Crims taken off the field, coming in very clutch as that could have been a powerful pass to get a shot on. And Cleary, well, round one, maybe an opportunity to build an offense. Crims to the side. Who's going to get there first? Neither get there first. And it is Omen the 8th for a little bit of offense for Cleary.
Omen the 8th, that little bit of offense, and I'm kind of hoping it goes a long way because they have finally broken out of this forced defense that Mizzou has pushed them into that let us see this offense shine. Now, as I say that, the ball is hurtling towards an open goal on the side of Cleary, but Omen the 8th just doing everything he can. Definitely the all-around player for Cleary, and that actually might be proven now, but will not. Crims not going to let that exclamation point end my sentence. Instead, going to make it in ellipses. Here comes an opportunity for a double tap from Cleary, but instead it's a little bit shaky, giving Mizzou the chance to clear it down, possibly into goal, and not cleared back out by Roach into that center field, taken along the left side towards center field, and here comes Crims, but no, it has just been such a back and forth here. This has felt more like game one than any game we've seen so far. Now, Excel with a very unique goal there. Not quite an own goal, but...
Yeah, you can't really call it an own goal. I mean, sure, it bounced off Cleary and went into the net, but you really can't do anything there. The ball bounces off the crossbar, and you're doing anything you can to get the clear. Unfortunately, it bounces off and into the net, but there is still time for Cleary, and they have started to build offense more and more throughout this series, and a miss from Mizzou like that could come in huge, but they can't find the net, and instead, it's Mizzou gaining possession. Roach takes it off of his head, and Crims in again. Ooh. Cleary, though, just struggling, and a miss there. Whale will steal it away and stretch it to 3.
I mean, I don't remember which player from CU that was, but they kissed the ball here. Oh my goodness, Tom K just touches the bumper to ball, but unfortunately cannot get the momentum shift that they needed to prevent that goal. Mizzou, they are up 3-0. We are looking at game one all over again. 1:59 left on the clock, and Mizzou, they are 2 minutes away, Powder, from giving us our 9th 3-0 series in a row here at Nace Starleague.
And it feels like it's gonna happen that way unless Cleary turns it around immediately, really starting to run out of time. And the offense hasn't been found as much past couple of minutes. Maybe a chance here, but wide by Omen the 8th, past Tom K, but it's just not happening. Good challenge there from Tom K, bringing it back in, but at this point, it's just about needing a sustained offense, which is something they haven't found lately. Another double commit. This time it at least works out for a long clear and maybe a shot opportunity. It is into the midfield. 2 will come up, and another double commit. It's just been the theme for Cleary tonight, and unfortunately, it's resulting in this loss that it's going to happen in about a minute or so unless they can turn things around right away.
Yeah, 1 goal per 22 seconds right now from Cleary, and that number is about to get even worse, or maybe not, as Excel is there to interrupt his team's goal. But either way, they are up by 3 points right now with 55 seconds left on the clock. Cleary, like you said, unfortunately going to have to kiss this one goodbye. It was a mighty close series, but unfortunately just not going to have that speed of improvement we needed from them to walk away the victors of this series tonight.
Certainly. Excellent performance from Mizzou as they just continue to hold the ball in, knowing they've got this secure, just trying to waste time at this point. Down into Whale over 1. What a pass that one was. Excel dropping this one down. Can't find it. Whale will, though. And 27 seconds away from a sweep. Can't wait to get into the interview booth with them, but what a performance it's been from Mizzou tonight.
Yeah, and speaking of interview booth, it will be Whale we're talking to, I believe, so that'll be nice and convenient because they have just been going through and doing a phenomenal job, goal after goal, and I'm not positive on this, chat, so don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure that Whale has the most goals of the night so far.
They might at this point. It's been a great performance for them as time continuing to tick away. Shot on, put away, another double commit from Cleary. Maybe they'll get a goal out of it, though, faking it. Excel went for the squishy save, didn't quite work, and 9 seconds left, a little too late for the comeback, but it's one for the road.
And I mean, Cleary really has, like, at no point in time, and I feel like we say this a lot because a lot of these series feel so much closer than the scoreline's going to tell you they are. This really felt like it was just very close, neck and neck, down to the wire the entire time, and then Mizzou really found their footing once again in Game 3, and they're going to walk away with at least a 4-1 lead. It might be a little bit higher, might be a little bit lower. Whale, with that garbage time goal with the ball, will hit the ground, and that series will come to a close. Mizzou walking away with another 3-0 victory.
great performance from them, and they stuck to the game plan. We talked a while after game 1 about maybe what they were going to do heading into game 2. We saw a couple mistakes for them, but they really just stuck to the game plan, controlled the boost, controlled the physicality, and controlled the possession. And even though game 2 was a lot closer than games 1 and 3 were, they still held it together and were able to walk away with a very convincing sweep.
A very convincing sweep indeed. And I did check. We are going to get an interview with Whale, so we're going to wait to get that set up in just a couple of minutes here. But I'm really excited to hear from Whale. And kind of like you said, was this them sticking to their plan, or did it look like that to us, and to them they were bringing out something brand new? Because they really did look calm, cool, and collected across the board. There was no moment, I think, where I was like, uh-oh, Mizzou is panicking. It always felt like they knew what was going on. It felt like the communication was there, and it felt like they were constantly ready to take that lead into that victory.
Certainly did. Again, fantastic performance from Mizzou, and we'll be interested to talk to, like you said, I think it's going to be Whale, and he seemed to kind of be the all-around guy for Mizzou tonight. He was all over the field, getting stops when needed, finding the goal when possible, and maybe stealing a goal at one point as well. So great performance from the entire team, and specifically Whale, on stretching out. They're now at 3-0, I want to say. They continue on their next season.
Let me check my little notes. I believe you are correct. They are, in fact, at that 3-0 scoreline, which is a pretty darn good one, because as you guys, I'm sure you're noticing if you're watching every week, is the further we get into this, the less teams we see with the 0 in that loss column. So we see Mizzou, they're going to carry theirs on a little bit further. I think we only see one other team today that is undefeated. That'll be Rochester University, actually, in our next series. So it's going to be up them to keep that legacy alive. Way back in week 1, we're like, oh yeah, almost everybody's undefeated. Half the teams are undefeated. But at this point, we are really getting down to those, we're slimming down those numbers on which teams still have no losses in that column.
Yeah, and it'll be fun to see as we continue on. We're very likely still going to find ourselves watching some, undefeated teams in future weeks as well. And it gets really exciting as we get later on to see which teams will maybe end up dropping that. And it could be huge for their season as well, because remember, top seed goes straight into conference championships, while 2 and 3 seeds have to go into that last chance qualifier to get themselves in. And so that one loss could cost you dearly. If you've got a powerful team in your conference, you want to take them down and give yourself a chance at that number 1 seed.
And I've got to say, I'm such a sucker for a last chance qualifier. I really am. They are so, that's where everybody has really, there's nothing left. All the cards are on the table. Everybody's 150, 200% all the time. And that's just really where the gloves come off. And I'm not saying this is not good by any means. I'm just saying, that's where everybody really just brings out everything they have, because those spots, you get that close to greatness, you can taste it. It is just mere games ahead of you, and those games are dictated by the people that you have beaten or lost to throughout the rest of the series. That is always where it gets super interesting for me. But right now, there's a couple of teams that maybe don't have to worry about that too much. We're looking at our Mizzou's, we're looking at our Rochester Universities. Those teams that are undefeated will get to a point where there's only a few of them left. I'm trying to do the math in my head, but anybody that's watching these broadcasts knows I'm not very good at math. So I'll try to figure out that number during the break. But either way, I cannot wait to see these teams. The further in we get, it's just going to be the best of the best of the best of the best of the best until we get down to that one final team in December, in the 3rd and 4th in that in-person event.
Certainly, and especially as we get later into the season, we start to see the storylines as well. It's a round robin style league, so you're only going to play each team once. So it's not as if we're going to have revenge matches later on, but we still do see these teams who come in undefeated, and maybe it's 1 and 2 playing against each other. They just so happen to fall against each other later on in the season, and those are going to be the matches that are going to be huge for their seasons. Especially, if you were to see a team maybe sitting 3 and 4, and 4 wanting to take out 3 and get themselves into the last chance qualifier. These are the storylines that we are looking forward to as we're heading into that back half of the season.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think, because I know we're going to get to a point where we're going to see a lot. You know what? We'll talk about it in a little bit. We just got confirmation that Whale is ready for their interview. So, Whale, how you doing? Can you hear us?
I'm doing well. I can.
All right, sick. So, my first question for you is a pretty simple one. We talked way back at the beginning of the series that Mizzou, a very well-known team, a very talented team, and as you guys went into this, was there anything kind of specific you were trying to bring out? Was this just you guys sticking to the textbook? Were you trying to go for a specific play style, or were you just kind of playing the game as it fell into you?
We were really just taking it head on. We didn't really come up with any plan, but we've we've been around a few leagues, so we kind of know what to
Right.
expect at most points. So we're just kind of playing our games.
Yeah, and you said speaking of other leagues as well, obviously making CRL calls yesterday. Does that give you any sort of confidence as you kind of head into the rest of the season? You got it done early. You got it done week 1. You don't even have to worry about doing it next Sunday as well. So does that kind of boost that confidence a little bit?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Making CRL, especially always in the first week, is just like is a real big confidence. Definitely gives you the confidence you need to try and like sweep all the way through NACE and whatever it might be all the way to playoffs. So.
Right, and not only just talking about CRL as well, but Septilence and I kind of talked about this before the broadcast as well. Mizzou has history in NACE as well, winning in fall 2019, actually against my own school too. So is that kind of, we talked about this with some other schools too, does it kind of feel like there are some shoes to fill when you have some history like that?
Yeah, there's definitely some shoes to fill, but at a certain point you gotta start respecting the other teams that are coming up in the league, and you definitely have to make sure that you're not too overconfident when you got teams like Northwood and Stockton in the playoffs, and you have to make sure that you're prepared for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. And just one more question for you, a very easy one. Is there anybody you would like to give a shout out or a thank you to before we let you go?
Yeah, shout out my teammates, Crimson XLs, and my parents. They're always tuning in and watching.
Awesome. We love supportive parents in the collegiate scene. Cannot get enough of it. Well, Whale, thank you so much for joining us, and a huge congrats on another victory.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
And with that, folks, we're going to get ready to throw it to a pretty minor break here. We're going to get Game 2 set up, which is the University of Southern Mississippi sitting at 2-2 up against Rochester University, which is our second 3-0 team we're going to be seeing here this evening. Use this time, get up, get a snack, go see your loved ones. I don't know, do something. But come right back here for some more NACE Star League in just a couple of minutes. We'll see you soon. Well, hey there, everybody, and welcome back to NACE Star League. One series already down and out. It is our 9th 3-0 of NACE Star League in a row. We are coming into what could be, but who knows, it might not be, Game 10. Either way, it's our second series of the day. We've got University of Southern Mississippi against Rochester University. I'm still Septulant, and that, did I point the right way? I did, is Powder. And we are super excited to be bringing you this second series. So, Powder, looking at raw statistics alone here, there's a story to be told.
There certainly is. You know, Rochester coming in undefeated at 3-0, where USM 2-2. So kind of two opposite ends of the seasons here. Rochester trying to build upon that undefeated season, just like we saw Mizzou last time. As we take a look at the rosters, USM coming out with Cheeks, Bear, and Salas, and Rochester University bringing out Knight, Kappa, and Storm. In this Rochester University team, I am excited to see. It's not the players I was expecting to see, because they did pick up the bubble team Doodle Bangers as their roster. However, maybe for NACE they're playing with a different roster, but Knight is a member of that team. And this is a team that has done very well in the bubble scene, winning Melon Patch League as well. So Knight, an experienced player who is set to lead Rochester University.
Without a doubt. And speaking of Rochester University, maybe everybody already knows this, but just to be sure, we did see another undefeated Rochester team last week, not the same one. That is RIT, Rochester Institute of Technology. This is Rochester University, both apparently with very good Rocket League teams, but different schools regardless. And as you can see from the predictions, like I mentioned, I'm a man of statistics. I can't help myself. I'm a very analytical person, and when I see that 3-0, I just can't go against it.
No, you certainly can't. You know, my Michigan bias might play into a little bit of this one as well. We get two Michigan teams in a row, but no, this team, Rochester University, I haven't gotten to see them yet. However, I have seen Knight play, and he can certainly be a leader for this roster coming into NACE for, I want to say, their first time. And, you know, 3-0 start, so a great start for them. They're looking to continue that tonight.
Yeah, and I'm really excited because this is, you know, another situation in which, now this is a little different. I don't know either of these teams, but I do know Rochester University. I know the legend of Rochester University Rocket League, and like you told me, you know, you gave me the whole rundown earlier about the bubble team and the whole transition that they might be seeing, but I know that this is not, you know, nobody's undefeated on accident. But Rochester may have done this with a little more relative ease than some of our other teams. If they are as good as I've heard, they are definitely probably one of our top competitors of the season.
They certainly are. You know, this is another team that actually is in the same local conference, Michigan Conference, as Cleary University.
That's a busy conference.
So it is, it is. So these are teams that I get to see in my own school competing as well. We haven't gotten to watch Rochester University, but I want to say, you know, they're having a great season in there as well. Very likely undefeated. You know, it's just one of those teams that they're going to be a top contender, and a newcomer coming in as well, having to face teams later on in the season like Mizzou, like Northwood University and Stockton, like Whale mentioned. You know, you got to respect these teams coming in. Especially if you're a newcomer. You don't really have those shoes to fill,
right.
But when you're Rochester University and you enter in as an esports program, you bring in players like this. It's not that there's expectations, but there's this hope that these players can kind of live up to it and have a successful season.
Without a doubt. And speaking of successful seasons, you know, we've seen some very successful seasons so far. We've seen a lot of undefeated teams, and I'm really wondering, is this going to be, you know, we're going to at some point watch an undefeated team lose their first game. And you've got to wonder, every undefeated team we see, is this going to be that? Is it going to be tonight? And those teams, I'm sure, are going into these series with that same mindset. We do not want to lose. We do not want to put anything in that lose column other than that 0. And right now, Rochester, you know, they've got that on their shoulders.
Yeah, they certainly do. And when you're Rochester coming into this match and you know you're going against a team who's had just kind of a mediocre season so far, you know, 2-2 for USM, it's not that you're expecting to win, but you know you have a good shot, and that could maybe mean a little bit of overconfidence and an opportunity for USM to take down Rochester and give them their first loss on the season. But if you're Rochester, you just want to take care of business here, maybe, you know, walk away with another sweep that we'll be able to see. Either way, I'm very excited to see how this team's going to play.
Looks like we're going to be seeing a pretty immediate aerial game. It's Rochester and USM both high in the sky. Look at that first goal. I mean, such a blink and you miss it moment. I couldn't even get a full thought out of my mouth before that is the first goal on the board. Rochester finding themselves up 1-0, 11 seconds into game 1.
And it's the man I talked about at the very beginning. It's Knight getting the first goal in for Rochester University. And if USM does not find a way to shut him down, he is going to make them pay. already leaving his mark on this series with the goal. Now Spade looks for a pass down to the midfield. Sent out the other way is Knight trying to take back over, but instead it's USM maybe getting their first offensive set of the game. Not for very long as Knight back the other way for some more Rochester offense.
Oh, Knight had a great pinch off the corner there, but I think it was Spade who was just sitting in the right spot, was able to catch and steal a lot of that momentum. Spade goes for a goal of their own, brings it a little bit too far. Unfortunately, no follow-up from that center field. Bear trying to restabilize Salis with an attempt of their own, but it will be Rochester with that ball control. As I say it, Spade takes it high, going for perhaps a double tap or perhaps right in the goal. Oh! Mere inches away, but that, I mean, give an inch, take a mile, and that's exactly what USM did here. Storm not able to find that ball connect, and that will be a 1-1 scoreline, not even a minute off the clock.
Storm just caught in one of those awkward angles that can be tough to find the ball. He allows it to go in the net. 1-1 game, 2-1 game, as immediately he makes up for the mistake and gains it right back.
Storm really did. That was the fastest redemption arc I've ever seen. I mean, that was Storm misses the ball a little bit and then goes, hey, relax, I've got it. Just immediately finds that kickoff goal, puts Rochester up by 1, and my goodness, I mean, take that tie narrative, throw it out the window. Rochester is having absolutely none of that here tonight. Spade with great ball control, taking it high, and I've got to say, Powder, maybe you'll disagree, maybe you'll agree, but this feels like the first series we've seen in weeks where both teams want to take it to the sky.
Yeah, it just seems like some of these teams will want to play more to the ground. You know, Cleary kind of played like that in the previous game. Rochester to the air, though, constantly. Another chip up, just too soft. And Spade will be able to catch up to it. USM's putting up a good fight on the back line, but they aren't able to break out. Storm into the midfield. Capel will take the turn on it. Lose it out to Spade again. Slows the play down. A flick up over Knight. They'll attempt to set up an offense.
I've got to say, Spade, absolute front runner for USM right now. Just coming through, playing a strong offense, a strong defense, and anything in between. Just right place, right time, and clearly a very strong, well-rounded player. Now, unfortunately, when you go against teams like this, it's wildly obvious when a team has a front runner like that. And if Rochester chooses to, I don't know, let's say demo Spade 1,000 times in the next 3 minutes, that's going to make it really hard for USM to do much of anything.
It is going to make it tough. USM really struggling to build up that offense. Been a lot in the hands of Rochester. Maybe finding a fourth slot that threw off the crossbar. And Rochester building that lead once again.
I mean, just a textbook play, but a phenomenal one at that. Kappa takes it right up to the goal. So close, a defender can't do a darn thing about it. And that is going to be the third goal on board for Rochester. That was probably one of the cleanest plays we've seen in quite a few series, even including last week. Just simple, yet effective. And now Salis, with that ball control, smacks it down into the far left corner. Knight able to grab it out, trying to get past one, not quite around that second defender. And this could be an opportunity for USM to strike. Now, as I say that, Bear just barely going to be able to find that ball connect, and that will be USM struggling, but still successfully holding on to this ball control.
Rochester just, again, holding it in. Ooh, going for the Doomsy, but not able to land it that time. Knight taking back over for Rochester. It is a double commit from Rochester, maybe allowing some space over to USM. Too far out, though. Bear can't catch up. Everybody was upfield for USM. Let's see if they can make them pay. Down in front, it is Storm coming in. Pass over to Knight. Shot down, left side and in. And Rochester continually hitting it into the back of the net.
4-1 in favor of Rochester here. 2:06 left on the clock, so 126 seconds waiting. USM, they're finding themselves in a situation where game one might be lost, but it's that same situation. You hear me say it after every game one is, you've lost game one. It stinks, but at the same time, not the end of the world. You've got at least games 2 and 3 to try and turn things around, and you learn a lot about your opponent in game one. The real skill is what you can do with that information.
Have to see if they can make any adjustments late in the game. You know, there is still time to make the comeback. Just not much left, especially when Rochester just continually will find the offense and win out challenges like that. A good touch, but it's right back at Storm. And Rochester just knocking it home one more time, just trying to build up this lead as much as they can.
Yeah, I think we've definitely gotten to the point where USM realistically is not going to find a victory here in game one, but it's only game one, right? I mean, that's just the situation in which games 2 and 3 are waiting around the corner. And to talk a little bit more about kind of my primary point is the main observation I made, and I'm sure Rochester did as well, is it's the Spade show right now on the side of USM. And I think we're seeing that same thing. It's the Storm show on the side of Rochester. So if you can take Storm out of the equation, I think that increases USM's chances by a notable margin.
It does, and you know, I talked about Knight maybe being the leader here for Rochester coming in, but it's been Storm. He has taken over game one, consistently finding the back of the net, maybe finding another one there. It is put away by USM. But like you said, Sephalens, maybe they just need to find a way to shut him down, and you know, maybe infield passing plays like this can help USM get back in the series.
USM can get back in the series here. They've got 80 seconds left. That's 1 goal per 20 seconds if they want to tie things up here. And that's definitely a possibility, I believe. It's just, you know, one of those situations where possible, yes. Probable, not so much. Going for another kickoff. If USM could find a kickoff goal, that could really seal the deal of that possible comeback story. Spade takes it high. Going to try to go a little bit off the corner with Storm. Perfect placement. Knocks it away and puts ball control right back in the hands of Rochester Knight. Taking it down far into a corner. Going to be caught out by, I believe, Kappa. Moving fast as lightning there. I can barely read the name. Spade tries to take it back. We are just seeing Rochester with that pepper down strategy. All three of them slamming it toward the back third of USM. That's going to force them into a defense, whether they want to play it or not.
When Bear might have just given away possession, he can at least take a challenge. That's something you want to clean up if you're USM. You get a possession, you don't want to just chip it out too far. That's exactly what they did. Rochester will instead go back the other way once more because of it. Kappa out into the midfield, a little bit wide of the defenders, allowing Knight to get it back in the midfield. Will follow it up and take one off. 30 seconds left. This one all but over, especially as Kappa knocks it home for one more goal.
1 goal per essentially 5 seconds right now from USM, and that's definitely around the time where I'm very comfortable saying we're not going to be seeing that here today. That would be quite literally 5 kickoff goals in a row, which means I think any team would have to just put down their controllers and let that happen. I don't think anybody's going to get scored on 5 times in a row via kickoff. So unfortunately, the statistics and the timer are going to be against USM on this one, but I don't think that steers them away too much from games 2 and 3. They put points on the board. That's more success than a lot of teams have found in game 1 before. So they've got some momentum, they've got some gusto here, but like I said, you know, way back at the beginning of this game, it's about what they can do with the information they've gained from their playtime in game 1.
Yeah, and you know, it doesn't seem like there's many communication issues going on for USM, and obviously we as casters, we don't know what's going on in the comms.
Of course.
But right there, it felt like there was a chance for Say Less to make a quick turn on a pass that was coming in midfield and knock it into the goal. Obviously, it doesn't change the outcome of the game, but it could turn the tide for the next game if you can get a confident goal like that. I do like the way that they are passing it around. It just felt like that was one missed opportunity there at the end of game 1.
Without a doubt. And, you know, that's always, I guess, one of the harder parts of being a caster is we never really know how strong the communication is, right? Maybe we're just looking at a team that's really good without talking to each other, or maybe we're looking at a team that is only good because they talk to one another. But USM, like you said, I think we're seeing situations where comms were falling apart just a little bit, and it's not those major mistakes. We're not seeing massive triple commits every time there's a goal or an attempted goal, but there was just that kind of lack of communication. There was one goal around, I think, 2 minutes left on the clock where one of the players from USM took it down center field. I was completely expecting a follow-up for someone to knock it into goal, and there was just no one. It was like they did half a play, and then the other half just kind of fell through, and unfortunately, they weren't able to put that point on the board. So cleaning up possibly communication, and again, I'm chalking that up to communication without actually knowing how strong their communication is, but maybe just an improvement in communication on what plays they're trying to bring to the table, that could be very helpful for USM to find goals a little more consistently.
And you know, that it's really the tough thing because that's mainly the only mistake that we might be seeing. Again, we don't know if it's the communication, but other than that, there isn't really anything that USM is just outright doing wrong. This game, or that game, just seemed to be controlled by Rochester. They are just playing extremely quick. You know, 5 seconds in, you get a powerful shot like that. It's just hard to try to catch up if you're USM. The desperation comes out like that right there. They do get the stop, and maybe they can go on offense. But right now, it's just about trying to shut down the speed. Maybe a double tap will build confidence. It's a little bit wide, but you know, it's still some offense for USM.
Knight has a great defensive play there, knocks it down toward the goal of USM. Spade trying to do Spade things, but just does not have the window they needed to find that successful goal. The demolition from Knight Owl going to keep things a little bit more open for USM, but again, a demo is what, 2-point-something seconds? I mean, it's really not that long of a slot of comfortability. That's why you want to know they're coming before they happen, because by the time you can say, I got a demo, they've already respawned, and it was essentially useless. So you need to be like, I'm going for the demo on blank, let's look for the goal, or something along those lines. And Powder, as you've played Collegiate Rocket League a lot more than me, considering I've played 0 Collegiate Rocket League. But in a situation like that, do you think calling the demo is necessary, or is that a situation in which you're relying on your teammates to recognize what's happening?
It's something that you will call out if you're taken off the field, because you want to let your teammates know, even though they'll see in the right corner the demolition signal pop up, you still just want to communicate that. And it's something that USM might have to focus on a little bit if Rochester keeps going for the physicality. And, just, again, this control that they keep holding. Kappa will keep it in once more, go for the pre-flip shot and put away. And right now, everything just seems to be controlled by Rochester. The boost, the possession, the demolitions, the passing, the shot, the crossbar, maybe a follow-up from Knight. He leaves it up for Storm to come in, but Spade gets it out to at least midfield, and what a set from Rochester. They'll keep it going off of Storm's challenge.
The crossbar there really did not want Rochester to score. That is such an unfortunate point, but it's still that 0-0. It is the miracle USM needed. We're now 2 minutes off the clock, and nobody's put a point on the board, and that, to me, is a great improvement from USM. They've kept it at 0-0. That is a huge sign of progress in defense. Now, as I always say, Rocket League, not the type of game that you are going to win with just a strong defense. You've got to put that strong offense back-to-back to boot. We've got 2:40 on the clock. We need USM to put even 1 point on the board, Powder, and that will guarantee our first Game 4 of the season.
And and like you mentioned, it's halftime now, and Rochester still has not found their way onto the board despite all of this pressure. They might find it off the challenge. It's hard off the wall, but USM has put up a great fight defensively, and they are winning out challenges like that to give themselves opportunities. A miss might cost dearly in some physicality.
Whoa!
Shot is too soft. Knight puts it away. Now he's got space out in front. Will steal the corner boost, take it up the wall. And Spade trying to meet him even, but Knight comes out on top, down in front, and both of these teams are playing to their peak potential, going as fast as they can as they try to fight for this game too.
I mean, Powder, when I talked about last chance qualifier earlier, this is the type of game I have in mind. This is such a cutthroat, tooth and nail series. It is whichever team puts the point down very well may be the team to win the game and force us into our next. This could be game point for Rochester, or this could be the first game win for USM. They have 97 seconds left. They don't need to worry about scoring. They just need to play that wonderfully strong defense they have shown us so far and take us to our first Game 4 of the season. These next 97 seconds can decide the fate of USM here tonight.
Such a smart play there from USM as well, kind of faking that first touch, biting the defense, and they knock it home to get their first lead of this series. Though Storm trying to get it through. Spade with a good cutoff. Instead, it goes to the midfield for Kappa. Nobody is there for Rochester yet, and now 2 go up for USM. Storm has the possession and the boost. Goes for the pinch, straight up off the ceiling. Down for Kappa again in the midfield, cut off by Spade. And it's Night Owl to follow it through, trying to get offense more for USM. Down in front, and an opportunity to be found from Bear, slowing it down, but losing it out. And Rochester doing anything they can in the final minutes to try to get the tie up, and there it is from Kappa.
Powder, my next point was going to be I was trying not to get my hopes up for a Game 4, and I'm so glad I didn't say it because it immediately would have been just completely removed from the realm of existence. We are tied up 1-1, 56 seconds left. The last time we were this close was the Northwood game last week. We saw 1-1 into overtime, and Northwood ended up winning it. They ended up winning the series 3-0, and now this is where things are really going to be going down neck and neck. 46 seconds left, and with another goal from Kappa, things are looking good for Rochester. They've got 46 seconds left. All they need to do is just wait 46 seconds.
And Night Owl, this one might have been a miscommunication. Again, we don't know, but Night Owl, you can see him creep out of the net before Spade goes for it, and that is what gets them. He cheats out, has to cheat back forward. The shot is behind him, but there is still time. Does he have the reset? It is Bear coming in to try to take the shot. And immediate pressure off the kickoff from USM. Bear making the turn. He gets the challenge over 1. Some space to work with, just not any boost. Wins out the challenge. Storm caught in an awkward spot. Boost is stolen by Bear. He'll make the turn with possession. Placed back. Storm taking over. Ball taken off of his head. And back in for USM one more time, but they cannot find a sustained enough offense. And maybe now is the time. Shot is up. Put away by the defense, looking for the clear to force them to go coast to coast.
Oh, come on.
Goal to secure it. Rochester going up on match point.
That's a match point guarantee. I mean, I think they had it with 4 seconds left. I don't think we were going to see a goal from USM, but that's the true nail in the coffin. That is the guarantee moment to put Rochester on a 2-0 lead. They're going to need one more. Hypothetically, Powder, they're going to need one more goal to win the series, but of course, they're going to try to go for as many as they can. We officially entered that garbage time, and something tells me we will not be here for long. Ball going to go down to ground, and there it is. Night Owl not letting Rochester find that 4th point. That is game 2, and that is the first game tonight, I think, where my heart rate was really jumping up there. We saw that 1-0. I was like, oh, game 4 is on the horizon. Then we saw the 1-1. It was just tooth and nail, neck and neck, and that is high-quality Rocket League right there, my friends. I am very excited to see game 3 because we have been proven Mississippi, Southern Mississippi, excuse me, they have shown us they have that potential. They just need to push an extra 10% to unlock it.
They do, and it was a complete turnaround from game 1. It was what, 7-1, 7-2 in game 1.
7-2, I believe.
In this one, 3-1. They completely shut down Rochester's offense for the first, 90 seconds or so?
The first 4 minutes. I mean, it was 1-1 until the last minute of the game.
It was an incredible performance from USM, and after dropping that one, all you can do is just go into game 3 knowing how well you played in that game, and you just have to focus on playing that way for the full 5 minutes. It felt like a little bit, as the game went on, they just sort of just slip up a little bit. Maybe they got a little bit nervous, and Rochester certainly put the pressure on to make them feel that way. And unfortunately for USM, just a couple mistakes there late cost them the game, but still, you know you are within this after a performance like that.
Without a doubt. And I'm truly hoping, Powder, this isn't another one of those series where we're talking about, the 3-0 really didn't dictate how close the game was. I want to see this go to that 3-1. I want to see us go to that 3-2 because USM, more than almost any other team we have seen so far, has that potential. They just showed it to us. I mean, they proved their weight in gold. Whatever that saying is, their worth and weight of gold. Whatever it is, they did a good job. That's what I'm trying to say. And don't forget, folks, this third game is brought to you by Extra Life. Change kids health to change the future. Join their super team page today. We've got 17 seconds off the clock already, and Rochester, they were looking good, but USM looking a little bit better here in the first start of game 3. They put that first point on the board.
Much too over-aggressive from Rochester. Not expecting the ball to come straight out to midfield. Kappa got a little bit awkward, and it's an easy goal for USM. They start off 1-0 early on in game number 3, trying to get themselves back in, trying to get themselves a game 4, maybe a second goal, bounces off of the corner, and Spade going up, meets Kappa evenly, keeping the offense going, and that is something that USM has done so well since the end of game 1, is kind of keeping that offense on and not just giving away possessions.
Night Owl going to be going up quick off the right wall here, but it's going to be stolen away midair by Storm, and it's definitely that energy of Rochester trying to keep the ball as high as possible, as consistently as possible, and it almost seems like they feel more confident off the ground than they do on it, which is quite the inverse of what we normally see from these teams. But it's going to be Night Owl once again with ball control, has not been able to do much with it. A phenomenal setup for a double tap, and a follow through the crossbar! Oh, the thread of the needle from Storm. I think that is past 2, if not all 3 defenders. Let's get another look at that. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3. It's just going to be 2 as somebody comes a little bit off to the side here. But that is a goal regardless, Powder, and I am suddenly getting flashbacks to game 2. We are tied up 1-1 once again.
Yeah, and once again, it's desperation from USM that costs them the goal. They do have it off the kickoff, but they need to calm down on the back line. Their offense has been spectacular since game 2, but it's that defense that just worries me a little bit. They seem to get panicky when Rochester builds up the offense, which, to note, they haven't done as well since game 1. But when it happens, USM is starting to break down, and it's allowing Rochester these chances to get in the net, and they are not wasting them.
Bear tries to go for a bit of a hero play here. Got a double defense on the side of USM. Bear tries to thread it around to the right, but Spade is going to be coming through center field. No, the crossbar. Not going to let that center field goal happen, at least not yet. Storm going for a center field goal of their own. That's an open goal here, Powder! And that is Storm taking the utmost advantage of that open goal. Rochester once again in the lead. And this, every time we've seen them take a lead, they've never lost it.
Oh, they have, and that one, an over-aggressive play from Bear. He knows his third man is rotating back, but he decides to cheat up and try to take the challenge a little too early. And all it took was a little dish from Storm to get it past the last man and get it into the net to take their lead in this game 3. USM has done a great job winning the kickoffs and getting immediate pressure, but it hasn't resulted in a goal since the beginning of the game. Midfield pass cut off by Knight, out to midfield and into the hands of Night Owl. Forward to Bear on the turn, tries to go for the shot, can't catch up to it. Unfortunate for them, it was a great pass, not able to land it, but they still do have an opportunity on offense.
Oh my goodness, Bear going for a hero play of their own. That's a phenomenal setup for a double tap. If anyone can get there in time, it's disrupted a little bit. Kappa going to be there to steal it away once again. Night Owl goes into goal with no ball in sight as it is hurtling back toward the goal of USM. Bear has to play the hero for a 3rd time in a row on the strong defense. A weird kind of triple commit defensive play from USM, but I mean, hey, if it works, it works. Right now, all 6 players in the back third of Southern Mississippi. This is the time for Mississippi to try and tie things up, or for Rochester to take a real and much more comfortable lead than a single point.
USM just fighting for that goal. They're finding their way back onto offense, and for the last minute or so, not able to keep it in like they have been past couple of games. However, they still do find chances. Oh, Rochester, miscommunication onto the back line. A double commit for the stop, gets it, but maybe an open net to be found. Over into the midfield, too soft, and Kappa gets there first. Close call from Rochester, but they stick through it. They keep the lead, maybe not for long. Faith winning the challenge off of the crossbar and out. And USM needs to go back to the drawing board. 95 seconds left to try to get this one tied.
Oh my goodness, 91 seconds left now for Southern Mississippi to come through and try to find that opportunity to strike. But right now, I mean, things are looking rough, Powder. We are seeing time and time again, like you said, they get the kickoff, they get the ball control. It's the follow-through that's falling just a little bit short, and that little bit going a long way against them. There's another open goal. Can they get out of the way? And unfortunately, they can't even get in the way if they wanted to. Storm gonna find that 3rd goal for Rochester. We've got 74 seconds left. It's doable, but it is difficult.
And USM, you gotta send somebody after that ball there on the back wall. You know, it's tough to read the bounce and see if it's gonna go straight out in favor of Rochester, but you gotta get somebody on it to, if anything, get it up and over. And Rochester just gonna build upon it. 4-1 now as they look ready to take this sweep.
1 goal per 21 points, some odd seconds, 0.33 seconds here for USM to tie things up. That's not even to take the lead, and I gotta say, you know, I think USM is gonna be losing this game to Rochester and the series in a 3-0 fashion. And Powder, I'm gonna say it. I said so bad I didn't want to say it, but I'm gonna say it. The score of this series has not dictated the skill at which USM has played tonight. I've gotta say, I went in thinking Rochester was gonna sweep the floor with them. A team is 3-0 this far into a season. You assume they're a dominant one, but USM has kept them on the ropes surprisingly consistently, and I am definitely gonna be keeping an eye on this team as we go further into the season.
Certainly, and you know, maybe they've had a little bit of a rougher schedule to start the season, playing the best teams in their division now as they'll drop to 2 and 3. But what a showing from them, especially after the 7-2 Game 1 loss.
Yeah.
They turn things around, bring it even closer, and they've had a strong fight all night long, but unfortunately Rochester just a little bit too much to handle. With the mistakes that they made cost them a little too much, and they'll end up dropping this one tonight.
And I've got to say, Rochester, they've done a really good job of capitalizing on an open goal. Like, it's open for like 2 seconds, and they always find the goal off the back. I mean, now, don't get me wrong, sometimes it's open a little longer than 2 seconds, but the last open goal shot we saw from Rochester, the defender had just driven away. And the strike, and the timing was nearly perfect. Nobody was in front of the goal. It was a strike in for Rochester, and they're going to walk away from this series 3-0 with a 5-1, maybe 6-1, depending on how fast Knight can move here. But it is a win regardless from Rochester, and that is our 10th, count it folks, 10th 3-0 series in a row here at NACE Star League.
We've hit double digits.
Double digits! What? 2 hands! 2 hands worth of 3-0s.
These teams, they're just too good. They keep sweeping everybody. We might have to find even better teams to go up against them, but what a performance from Rochester, you know, and especially, you know, we kept talking about the turnaround from USM there, the fight that they put up, but you've got to say the same for Rochester. They found themselves down 2 games in a row, still fought back, took advantage of every open net opportunity handed to them, and they really just made it feel like it was their series despite the fight that USM was putting up.
Yeah, I've got to say, USM really did kind of, I don't want to say clutch up, because I don't think that's what I'm trying to say, but there was just a notable, like, 10 to 20% improvement each time we saw them. I think you said it perfectly. Game 1 was 7-2. That is not flattering by any means. The next game was, what, a 2-point differential by the end of it, and then Game 3 there was very close until the last 30 or 40 seconds, and like I mentioned, I'll say it again, USM, even with a loss, they made a statement, I think. They definitely showed they can go toe-to-toe with one of the greatest teams at NACE right now.
They certainly can. You know, Rochester happy to advance to that 4-0 record, but USM just dropping to 3-2, and you know that's got to be hard on the mental, because you know at that point it might be a little bit difficult to find your way into that 3rd seed, and that's when the last matches of the season become huge, especially if you start facing those teams near the top or in that 2nd and 3rd position. You know, Rochester looking ready like they want to take the #1 spot in this division. So USM, not exactly the start to the season that they've wanted, but still some matches left to go as they try to get their season back on track.
Yeah, and I believe we're going to get an interview with Storm here whenever they're ready in just a couple of minutes. And I'm excited because when we looked at, you know, when we first took a glance over at Rochester, my comment was that Storm really felt like the front runner. I think I stand by that statement, but as we got further into the series, it became less and less of the Storm show and more of the Rochester show as a whole. They really kind of turned into that, coagulated is such a gross word, but it really feels like the one I should use here. That, like, well-meshed team that came through. They found a lot of great passing goals. They found a lot of great individual goals. And I don't think they're listening to the broadcast, but I think they realized the same thing that I did. If one player really stands out, it's notably easier to take over that team than it is if all 3 players are passing the torch. If it's just spade, or it's just storm, you demo that player, the team crumbles. But if it's all 3 players really taking moments to shine and scoring on those passing plays, that team is much harder to pick apart.
Certainly, you know, we were coming into the match, and I thought the leader was going to be Knight. You know, He's just the player that I've seen more often, but Storm really kind of took the show over here in this series. He, even into Game 1, it was clear that he was the man for Rochester. Had a fantastic performance leading them to that victory, but still, it was an all-around team effort from Rochester. You know, we had the passing plays, we had excellent plays on the back line to try to get the stops as well, so it was a full team effort for them to get this victory. Yeah,
there's some connection about your school being called Rochester and your esports program having a really good Rocket League team, because RIT and Rochester University, I believe, are both still undefeated. I know for a fact that, you know, Rochester University is, we just watched it with our own eyes, but we are here now by Storm. Storm, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
All right, sick. So first of all, congratulations, still undefeated. That's kind of a really big deal.
Thank you.
My first question for you, I want to say, is in Game 1, it was kind of all you all day. You were putting every goal away. You were just kind of sinking shots left, right, and center. But then as the series went on, it became much more team-focused and team-oriented. Was that an intentional shift? Or do you think you as a team were just finding greater success when it wasn't all the pressure on you?
I trust my teammates and their skills and their abilities, so honestly, I thought I could just hit it up tonight and he would bang in any shot. Same with Kappa, he's a really good player. I just had faith in my teammates, and I knew if I passed them, they would find the shot and goal.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was a fantastic performance for the team. And, you know, coming into Game 2, USM, despite, and we talked about it, dropping 7-2 to you guys in Game 1, they had a strong fight. What was it that you guys went to after they got out to that lead that kind of brought you back into it and got you the win?
Honestly, my nerves were a little shaky, you know. First time facing a college in a series, so my nerves were getting the best of me for a bit. So I just slowed down, trusted my teammates and trusted my skills and abilities, and I knew I could just win the match. They were tough opponents for sure, but I feel like we could do it.
Yeah, it was a fantastic performance, like we had mentioned. And for my last question, I got to ask, who's in the background? You know, we saw them hitting some clean moves back there. I just got to know who it is.
Who's dancing? Dance for them. We're not.
Would those be the teammates, perhaps? Or are those just 2 random people?
We're on the Valorant team.
Those Valorant players.
Valorant moment. But Storm, just one more question for you before we let you go tonight. Is there anybody you would like to give a thank you or a shout out to while you're here with us?
I want to shout out first Alexa, and I want to shout out my family. My brother always supported me in my dreams, and he always played for me for years, and I did it for him.
Awesome. That is beautiful. I love the family support. We're getting a lot of that tonight, and I love it. I'm such a sucker for it. Well, Storm, thank you so much for joining us. A huge congrats on this win, and I'm sure we will be seeing more Rochester University soon.
Yeah. Thank you for having me here.
And with that, folks, y'all know the drill by now. We are getting ready to throw it to another break. So we're going to throw it to a break, use this time, get water, use the restroom. I don't know, do whatever you got to do. But promise me you will come right back here for some more NACE Star League in just a couple of minutes. We've got our third match of the night. Lackawanna College, someone correct me if I'm pronouncing that wrong, against Wichita State University. It's going to be a banger of a series. We'll see you right back here in just a couple of minutes. Don't go far.
playing this matchup damn near to perfection.
Yeah.
There we go, that Yoshi bomb. Gonna rack up some more damage right there. The upsmash not enough to get a KO, but oh my god, defeating the egg right.
Up against Nick, and then pushes on to the middle area. Pretty much guaranteed numbers to be there and low. A bold play at the end of the day. Meathead finding 2.
You're running with the stingers. Steve does get the first kill, and now you've got problems for Flowery unless they're all gone. Oh, with the vulnerability, Flowery in the classic.
Surprisingly, at that 1-0, Drury needs to put a single point on the board to tie things up. That's all they need. Then they can maybe find one more in that golden time to put that final goal on the board. But it's Sunblaze. I mean,
KO, whereas you are able to get those birds out into the open with the sky.
Are we talking about aggression on the defense? Oh my god!
Set him up for the double kill now. Top swings wide, swings out, and swings far. Whoa, my goodness, he's so fast, it's ridiculous. How can you stop this man? And he's taking the quad kill. Ace on the cards.
now I know what everybody's thinking. You guys are like, Septilance, oh my gosh, we're already halfway done with Rocket League. What are we gonna do when it's over? Guys, I have the coolest news for you. So Wednesdays, we have Call of Duty and Valorant here at Nace Star League. You're like, oh, that's only one day. I've got 2 more days. On Thursday, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. On Friday, CSGO. We've got games on almost every major day. Wait, that doesn't make sense. On almost every regular day of the week. And we've got a whole lot for you guys left in the majority of the season, including another game being added next month. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, because that game doesn't exist yet, but it's going to be super cool when it does happen. What is going on, everybody? And welcome back. I am Septilance, joined by Powder, and we are getting ready to enter our 3rd series of the night. And Powder, we have said this probably close to a dozen times, but I truly, now more than ever, believe this will be the series to take us to Game 4.
I mean, looking at the stats, you gotta think so. 2-1 versus 2-1. It's not like we have somebody coming in here undefeated where we're just like, oh, well, they're probably gonna win. It's like, no, we're certainly not sure who's going to take this series. Both of these teams are very evenly matched. Neither are teams that we've really gotten to see before.
Right.
I have gotten to see a player on Lackawanna College, specifically JK Fashizzle. Gotten to see that player before, but other than that, it's Aoka, Bozy, and then on the side of Wichita State, Mr. Gopher, Boone, and
Ikigai, I believe.
Ikigai. And, you know, these are just players that I haven't gotten to see before. And when that happens, you just tend to assume they're more similarly ranked than other players. So although I do have a prediction as to who's going to take this, I still think that this is going to be a very close series.
Now, Powder, for the first time in our Nace Star League experience together, I actually know one of these teams pretty well. And if you couldn't tell by my pronunciation of the name earlier, I know Wichita very well. Now, funnily enough, Ikigai is the one player I'm not super familiar with, but the rest of that roster are absolutely names I have seen before, Mr. Gopher and Boone. And I have a lot of friends over at Wichita, so maybe I have just seen these players in passing and haven't realized, but I believe I have seen Wichita play this game, and I believe I've seen them play it pretty darn well. So I'm very excited to see what they're going to bring to the table here tonight. But Lackawanna, they are, to me, the variable. This is, again, one of those teams I've never seen before, so they've got some big, they've got the proverbial shoes to fill. This is their, to my knowledge, Nace Star League season mainstream performance, and I want to see them come out the gate swinging. I want a Game 4 so unbelievably bad, I cannot even explain it.
No, and neither can I. You know, this is where the split occurs. You know, Septilance, you and I have agreed on the first 2 series, but, you know, you've gotten to see Wichita State. I've gotten to see players on Lackawanna College before, so I got to lean a little more towards them. Either way, I don't think this is going to be a blowout either way. I think that this is going to be a close series. I refuse to say that this is going to be our first Game 4 of the broadcast because I've done that too many times. But still, even if it's a 3-0, which I hope and I pray it's not, it is still, I think, going to be very close games within the series.
By golly, I hope so. I really don't want this to be another, well, it was so much closer than the scores said. No, I need I need a game 4. Like you said, I shouldn't have said it, but it's too late. I've got to double down now. I've got to buckle in for this series, but I am truly very, very excited because Wichita, their Rocket League team, is actually one that I haven't seen in a little while, but I know that I've seen these players in last year's season and perhaps even before that as well. Ikigai, like I mentioned, that's the player who, maybe that's like a brand change, maybe that's a name change, maybe that is a player I've seen before, or, you know, people graduate from college. That's kind of the whole point. So maybe Ikigai is replacing someone who used to be on Wichita's team. Either way, I'm very eager to get into this series because, as everybody watching knows, I'm an analytical man. I'm a statistical man. And with 2 teams sitting at 2-1, both these teams have won. Both of them have lost, which means both of them can do either of those things, which means it could be a very neck-and-neck series. Immediately some ball control in favor of Lackawanna, but instead it's going to be knocked down immediately away in favor of Wichita. A very back-and-forth gameplay early on, only 10 seconds in. It has kissed both goals at least one time already.
Yeah, back and forth quickly. Starting off game 1 is Wichita State struggling to gain a possession. They do have the ball in their own half, trying to break out. Mr. Gopher can get around. No boost to his name, still gets the pass midfield, immediately cut off. And both of these teams, hot start, playing very quickly as it's now into the corner. Trying to break out, can't do it yet. Shot straight on, put away by the defense. And now Wichita State up to make the stop. They can get it done, but what a start from both teams.
I mean, what a shot from Mr. Gopher there. That was incredible. And I mean, it was just right place, right time from Lackawanna. Some very impressive defense and now some stronger offense, but the crossbar just not going to be letting that happen. Ikigai goes in quick, trying to go for a readjustment. It's Mr. Gopher, who also misses the ball. A double fake, and now all 3 players not in front of Wichita's goal. Instead, it's going to be kind of a strong offense. They now have to rotate back into the defense, try to get in front of their goal before time is against them, and it looks like they've got plenty of time to do so. As Lackawanna still struggling to... They're finding ball control, but I feel like they're not doing a lot with it. Here we go. This is no way! No!
Oh, no!
Come on now.
I'm not sure what's happening here at the start of game 1. Both of these teams have come out roaring in terms of speed, but you might want to slow it down a little bit. It was an open net. They just rushed it, and unfortunately for Lackawanna, they're still scoreless.
Yeah, that might be one of the unluckiest non-goals I've seen in a really long time. That was a wide open goal. The crossbar just not letting it happen, and Lackawanna, a lead slips through their fingers. I mean, they try to capture every minute, but it's just not going to be lined up quite like they wanted to. Wichita State now, I mean, thanking their lucky stars is it's still at that 0-0 scoreline, and we are 2 minutes off the clock. Not a goal in sight so far, Bowder.
Oh, not yet, even though both teams have had plenty of time in each other's half trying to get the offense going, but not a lot happening other than the unfortunate Lackawanna College miss. And they do try to break out the other way. JK Foshizzle taking over. That's along the back wall, takes one off the field, looking for another down in front, but one is there in time. It's Boone. He gives it off to Mr. Gopher, and Wichita State will attempt themselves on offense one more time.
This has been probably the most textbook game 1 we've seen in a really long time. Nobody's doing great so far. It's a lot of adapting to your opponent's play style and a lot of adapting, you know, can we play a strong offense? Can we play a strong defense? Or are we going to find ourselves stuck somewhere in between? And right now, it feels like all 6 of our players on the field are in some weird Rocket League gray area where it's not quite an offense, but it's definitely not a defense. It has just been luck after luck. Nobody putting these goals away, and IDK Bozy just has that opportunity to strike with a double commit from Wichita. Actually ends well in their favor. Shizzle goes in quick. It's not going to be able to do much of their own. Aoka will finally break the curse, putting that first point on the board for Lackawanna.
That's a fantastic double tap. The defense just coming from too far away, giving yourself too much time in the air and not able to land the save. 1:54 left, and Lackawanna is first on the board after a long time in each other's half for each team, and Lackawanna definitely wanting that one after the missed net earlier. Going for another double is Bozy. This shot, top shelf, is put away into the corner. Lackawanna starting to build upon that offense even more.
JK Foshizzle coming in quick, looking for a shot off the left side of goal, but Wichita, their defense a little bit strong. They're going for not quite full clears, but just away from goal clears, kind of send it out toward that center field, see what they can do with it after. I feel like we're watching a team that's trying to play a reactive play style, but they haven't really maintained ball control long enough to find success with that. Aoka finding ball control immediately, knocking it into the left corner. Mr. Gopher there to steal it back away. JK Push Shizzle takes it back again. A back-to-back-to-back trade-off there. Wichita, 70 seconds left on the clock. They've got to put something down if they want to win game one, but this is where Lackawanna is really getting close to winning this first game.
They are starting to hold possession more, getting another shot and a challenge to get it off of the defender. When Mr. Gopher is there, could be a quick counterattack. This shot will be off. Ayo with time to take over. Mr. Gopher, though, opportunity to Doomsy. It's a fake down, put away still by the defense. And JK pushes on the counterattack now for Lackawanna. Into the corner, flicking the midfield, pass over to Bozy in, and it's 2-0 Lackawanna.
And something really cool that I actually just found out is that Aoka, from the side of Lackawanna, actually played or might still be in the Army and played for the U.S. Army esports team, which is very cool before playing for Lackawanna.
Wow.
So this is a very experienced player, and I think that's showing a little bit. I think we've seen Aoka really take kind of a shot caller, front runner situation, and it's really working out well for Lackawanna so far.
It certainly is, as Bozy starting to build on that offense even more. Lackawanna, once they got that goal in, you know, they had the unfortunate miss earlier, but once they found the back of the net, it seems like their confidence is building up even more as 20 seconds left. A tough ask for Wichita State to not only get back the other way, but get 2 goals in the final 15 seconds, especially when Lackawanna just continually starving them. Into the corner now. Shot on and in. And if it wasn't over before, it is now as Aoka with the third on the board.
I mean, Lackawanna not going to lack a winner here in game one. They are coming out strong with that first game victory. A 3:07 seconds left on the clock, and that is just the way to kick off a series. Wichita, they've got to give us that game if they want to take us to game 4. They've got to put themselves on the board in game 2. Obviously not in game 1, it's impossible to win, but in game 2, if they come out strong, if they find an immediate kickoff goal, that could be the opener to force a game 4, or maybe even just put one game on the board. In reality, Wichita's win condition, so to speak, isn't, oh, make game 4, it's, oh, win game 2. It's, you know, they're not like, let's see how many games we can take. It's let's win as fast as possible. In Wichita, they're going to have to try to do that. They're going to get, you know, a minute or two between game 1 and 2 to talk about what they want to see differently. So, Powder, if you were in the coaching seat, the driving seat of Wichita, was there anything that really stood out to you where you were like, hey, fix this, and you might find some great returns?
It felt like they were just playing a little bit too fast, and speed can certainly be helpful, but for them, it seemed like they were just going fast for the sake of going fast, and it resulted in a lot of solo plays and not as many team plays or passes to one another. I think if they can slow down, the passes will follow. It's just kind of calming down those nerves and realizing that you don't have to play at supersonic speed the entire game.
Yeah, I think there's this weird kind of smoke and mirrors expectation of Rocket League that the winning team is always the fastest team, when in reality, I think that's not the case at all. I think that there could be a correlation between teams playing faster, finding more goals, but at the end of the day, I don't think that the speed has to necessarily dictate how many goals you're finding. I feel like that's kind of a confusing statement, but I hope I'm making sense. It's not, you don't have to hold W the whole time. You don't need to be going full boost the entire time. If you play a little bit slower, a little bit more calculated, that could go a really long way for a team. Are we going to see a lower scoring game? Most likely, right? You have less time to get to the enemy goal, but at the same time, you might not find your own goal open as often if you slow things down a little bit and just play as the ball comes to you rather than trying to play 4, 5, 6 steps ahead.
Right, and I think that's the game here for Wichita State. We saw Lackawanna, you know, have some success with playing fast, other than the one missed goal, of course, but other than that, it was a significantly fast play style from them as well. But for them, it worked. So Wichita State might want to find a way to slow down Lackawanna while also just slowing down themselves, and they might find some success. And off the kickoff, nearly getting it as well.
Oh, that's open. That's open.
Can he recover in time? A flick over one and in. Wichita State's on the board early.
I mean, Powder, what did we say? What did we say we wanted to see from Wichita? A kickoff goal. And that doesn't exactly count, but 13 seconds is still really fast. That is the opening goal we needed. We've seen Wichita take the lead. Now they need to keep it. They need to extend it. They need to take it as far as humanly possible to find that victory here in game 2. They've got the right pieces. They found the weak spots of Lackawanna, which, to be fair, there are not many. But they know if they change the pace of the game a little bit, that forces Lackawanna to change their play style as well. And that can put Wichita in the proverbial driver's seat.
And they will find some offense down. Boone is cut off by Lackawanna. They will find some offense now themselves. Wichita State, speed working out there, getting to it in time. Mr. Gopher slowing down a little bit, looking for the back pass, but instead gives it away to Lackawanna again. Placement from Bozy a little bit wide into the corner. JK for Shizzle not able to get to it. Just control the ball, running out of boost and losing it to Mr. Gopher, winning out the challenge. Who's there first? Icky Guy trying to get it, but Bozy coming up. More offense now for Lackawanna.
That was a sloppy play from just kind of everybody involved for a moment. The ball losing complete and total momentum, but it still is going to end in favor of Lackawanna. That lead from Wichita is ripped away. We are at that 1-1 scoreline, 4 minutes on the clock, and as I always say, 1-1. That's just a complicated 0-0 at the end of the day. You've got to be winning by at least 1 point to walk away with a victory here. That sounds so... I just thought about what I just said. The point was you can't draw. That's what I was trying to say. And then I listened to that back and I was like, that's not what I was trying to say. But the point is, it's a 0-0 because you can't win on a draw. This game does not end in a draw. Somebody has to win, and we'll go into overtime as long as we have to. Powder, what's the longest overtime you've cast before?
Oh, the longest one I've done? I don't think I've gone longer than 10 minutes. It's probably been 7.5. I've done tournaments where there's been 15-plus minute overtimes in the bubble scene. But, and Lackawanna just kind of shut us up right there.
Speaking of, oh my goodness.
A fantastic one in.
Oh man, that is, yeah, Lackawanna, they're like, no, stop talking about overtime. We don't want to play in overtime. We want to win as quickly as possible. And it's Aoka again. I mean, really coming out strong. And as we learned, this is not supposed to be a pun. Aoka is a very veteran player when it comes to Rocket League. They have played in teams, in leagues, in tournaments before. And I gotta wonder, and if we get to interview them, I'm definitely gonna ask, is Aoka playing that shot caller position? Or are they playing kind of that front runner, calling the coordination of the team? Or is this that type of team where it's everybody pitches in where they can in terms of comms?
And it feels like, Aoka is kind of taking that lead, at least in first man sense. But it seems like everybody is there for Lackawanna. JK Shizzle is like right here, pushing up aggressively to keep the offense going. And Bozy's been playing a fantastic role, usually as the third man. He's been very solid as it, as he's now the last one. Flick over one and almost over the second, but JK Shizzle instead will use his own crossbar to get the stop. Wichita State's got to go back to the drawing board.
Wichita State back to the drawing board indeed. They've got 2 minutes and 40 seconds to really change things up and make magic happen. They've put 1 point on the board. They know that Lackawanna is not invincible. They just need to find out how they found that first goal and go for it again. I think we saw, like we mentioned, a slower gameplay. And I think that's not something I'm going to pitch to teams often, but I think that could work really well with Wichita because it looks like a lot of what they're trying to do is going to be successful, but they do it a little bit too fast or a little bit too early. Just like that. I think an opportunity we saw was whichever player from Wichita had the ball in center field, they went for a shot on goal from center field. Like, roll that in a little bit further, take that in closer to the back third, make it harder, less predictable to block, and you might find that goal there. I think that really is a small play that's going to bite them in the butt.
Yeah, and it's tough to say what went wrong in that goal. I was taking a look and see the rotations, and Wichita State, Iggy Guy will get it home and make the play before not matter. Back to a 1-goal deficit.
The 1-goal deficit is going to be huge here, and Ikigai feels the pressure, feels the tempo. Can they be the first team to give us a Game 4 in NACE Star League? Who knows? Only time will tell. Can they win a game up against Lackawanna? Who knows? Wichita does. They've got to prove it to us right here in the next 2 minutes and 10 seconds. Aoka going in quick, trying to play that hard defense, and able to do so. Takes the ball high away from Mr. Gopher. Boone going to snatch it right back, putting Wichita in the striking position, but it's going to go right underneath Boone into the wheels of Ikigai. It is a back and forth situation. All 3 players from Wichita playing 110%. Aoka takes it through center field right into Boom. That might be a goal if they get the right angle, and it is going to be from JK Shizzle. That was a bit of luck, I think, that Shizzle was able to get there in time, but that is a goal regardless, and as a wise man once said, we absolutely take those.
And, more panic from Wichita State, too. The stop was made from Boone. He did at least stop the immediate goal, but I think he tried to follow it up as well as another teammate of his. It resulted in this awkward double commit that just becomes a scrum. And now a 2-goal deficit, almost back to 1, but Lackawanna does get there in time. Mr. Gopher off the ceiling. Oh no, it's right into the hands of Wichita. Perfect placement, top shelf, back down to 1.
I think I agree, Powder. That was some perfect placement right there. I mean, from Mr. Gopher down into center field, nobody's there to catch Boone. Threads the needle through 2 defenders into that top shelf shot. What an opener from Wichita. 97 seconds left. This might be the closest game we've seen all season in terms of how high the points have gotten, and we're still only 1 goal apart.
Great turnaround from Wichita State. Now it's about bringing it all back. Less than 90 seconds left. But anytime Lackawanna has gotten back down, to that just 1-goal lead. They found another on the board, and it's up to Wichita now to finally bring it back to even. They want to try to take this game. Avoid match point off the crossbar. Somebody needs to be up. It's Mr. Gopher using the last scrum of boost to get up to it. And the clear is there from Wichita, not for long. Boone will be there, but into the hands of JK Shizzle again. Killed by Mr. Gopher, another leader for Wichita, getting the stops when necessary, getting the clears when needed. Over in the midfield a little bit dangerously, and unfortunately off of Wichita State, and it results in a clear, but not for long as the offense is back on.
This has been amazing. I mean, the crossbar being that fourth teammate, it is just back-to-back chaos. Nobody really able to stabilize it. It's everybody playing as, it's just pure improv right now. They are coming through, just playing as reactive as possible, and my heart rate definitely knows it. I feel like I need a baby aspirin here. It's gonna be 30 seconds left on the clock. That goal goes high and a little bit wide. Boone gonna be able to play that hard defense once again. Aoka takes it through to center field. Oh no, Bozy is not able to catch it out quite yet. Shizzle with a great demolition. Ikigai goes up high. Where's that follow through? There it is, but off the back of Bozy. Is this gonna be the opening shot for Wichita to tie things up? No, another great clear from Lackawanna. 10 seconds left here, Powder. Can they walk away with that game too?
Gotta get it done here. Pass the midfield. Awkward play from Lackawanna, but the third man all the way out. Need to go coast to coast. They do have it high in the air, exactly where they need it to be. Ikigai up into the air for Boone. Boone actually faking it, dropping to the ground, and Lackawanna kills it and up 2-0 in the series.
Oh man, that one had me sweating. I was invested in that one. Oh my goodness, that was a very, very close series. Very close game. We ain't done yet. Lackawanna, they are up 2-0, but that. Oh man, Powder, I thought last series was good. These players have me on the edge of my seat right now. My heart rate, if I had a watch that told me, I'm sure would be very high. But it is a phenomenal performance from both teams so far. Wichita, so close yet so far away, and they've got 5 more minutes to prove that they can take this team down even a single time.
And it's been tough going for Wichita State. You could see them build up the confidence, get the opportunities there late in the game. It just felt like too little too late for Wichita State. Lackawanna had already gained control of the game, continuously going up by 2. You know, the mistake really costing them as well as they went down by 2 again. Sure, they immediately brought it back with a kickoff goal, but it's just these slight mistakes that that cause them to drop down further in the game. It just results in a bigger comeback that needs to be made.
Without a doubt, Wichita, they are. It's so hard to explain this. I say this all the time. They are like 10% away from being able to beat Lackawanna. They just need to change a couple of things, step it up just a little bit more, and I think they could find some great success on Lackawanna. I think what I want to see, huge shocker, guys, I know, absolute crazy take from Sepulence, more demolitions. Get a little more physical right now. Like, it feels like if Wichita was just playing a little more cat and mouse against Lackawanna, they could be taking them down a little more consistently. Chase Bozy into the skybox. You know, like, get hyper aggressive there. And I would love to see Wichita take this game 3, but Lackawanna, they are playing so impressive so far. It's really going to be tough. And don't forget, folks, game 3 brought to you by Extra Life. We love them, so be sure to go check them out. They do a lot of great things, and I'm sure you'd love to be a part of it. It's always a great experience. 13 seconds off the clock right now. Lackawanna, they've got ball control. Aoka takes it in a bit of a sloppy play to the corner here, but definitely not a damning one. It's not going to get them scored on by any means, but it's not going to secure ball control for them either. Shizzle takes it high, going to be knocked away into Bozy, and a lot of back and forth right now.
It has been. Both teams have had a couple close chances early on. You know, Boone off the kickoff had the opportunity for a flick, was shut down. And a midfield pass early on for Lackawanna as well. So both teams just about kind of honing in those opportunities and getting them to count, as now one is given away. I think he was a little bit cut off by his teammate. Mr. Gopher was cutting around in front. They still do contain the ball for at least a few more seconds. Oh, the net is just completely open. Now. No one home for Lackawanna, and it's 1-0 Wichita.
Yeah, that's definitely unfortunate. Lackawanna, I think, maybe getting a little bit too aggressive, perhaps over-aggressive. Bozy goes for the tap, almost gets Gopher far enough away to not find that goal, but with an open goal, they're pretty hard to miss, right? I mean, there was very few ways Mr. Gopher was going to miss that shot, and now Lackawanna, for the first time in a long time, at a deficit, they're going to have to put 1 point on the board to put us back at that 1-1 scoreline.
Boone doing anything he can to try to stretch this one out as he gives it away into the offensive end. JK Shizzle, not the touch he wants, out into the midfield. Mr. Gopher not able to get there. Aggressive push from Boone again. Oh, he has a man in the midfield. Ikigai up, needs the shot. Perfect pass, perfect shot, top left, 2-0 Wichita.
Oh my goodness, 2-0 Wichita. Oh my goodness, Powder. Oh, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say anything. Ikigai goes in, finds that top left goal, and that is 2-0 in favor of Wichita. 3:40 left on the clock. We're already 100 seconds into this matchup in Wichita. They have put 2 points on the board. Lackawanna not putting a darn tootin' thing on the board so far.
An opportunity here, shot on and in, right off the kickoff. It's Bozy taking advantage of a slight defensive miscue. Not sure what happened here from Wichita State, but Lackawanna College will take that every day.
Yeah, right? I mean, we absolutely take those. I don't think anybody in the history of Rocket League is like, we don't want that goal. We're good. No, they're absolutely going to look for those goals 100% of the time, and all of a sudden, that 2-0 lead that felt so comfortable, like a warm blanket out of the dryer seconds ago, is all of a sudden a 1-point advantage, and that is hardly an advantage in a game like Rocket League. 3:30 left on the clock. Lackawanna with ball control. Aoka sends it down into center field. Bozy gonna miss the pass there, and that is a goal they could have had, but hindsight is 20/20. Unfortunately, not able to line it up, and that's gonna keep Wichita in that 1-point advantage.
They do have the possession in the corner. Try to get the back pass, but can find it. That is powerful. It's off the crossbar. A little too quick for one. Jacob Fishizzle to Aiko. Cut off by the defense. And now an opportunity on the counterattack. It's Ikigai up. Cut off by Bozy. Space and time over for Boone. Looks for a teammate in the corner. Instead, it's off towards Lackawanna. They're back on offense again, looking for the shot straight on. Oh, it's a miss, and it's off the crossbar. Double commit for the stop from Wichita. Need to be careful here, but the long clear out will secure it, and they keep holding this lead.
Wichita's got a 4th teammate right now, Powder. My goodness, it is goal after goal, block after block from that crossbar. Might have more saves than anybody on the side of Wichita right now. They haven't even had the chance. That crossbar is going crazy. We have now entered the second half, and Lackawanna, they want that second half buff to kick in right here, right now. Aoka into Bozy and in to Mr. Gopher. Talk about perfect placement and perfect timing. JK Foshizzle goes for another one. Mr. Gopher in the goal all day long, playing that hard defense to make sure Lackawanna cannot tie things up, at least not yet. Aoka goes for a 3rd attempt, but Foshizzle is the one to catch it down into the far left corner. 2 minutes remaining, and Aoka needs to get something. You can feel Lackawanna. The pressure is building against them. The timer ticking down second by second. They know they need to put this on the board if they want to win this series 3-0.
That is a good pass forward. Bozy went up and got the mid boost, but not the ball.
Oh, that's
to
sloppy.
JK Fishizzle looking for the demolition, but they're up early. They get the stop. The shot is wide, but it's a pass midfield to Bozy, bouncing off of his teammate. It was likely wide anyway. Honestly, working out because they hold the possession a little bit longer. Now out from Wichita State into the hands of Boone. Not going to turn for it. Instead, it's a pass to himself off the corner. That's Lackawanna College back on offense again.
I don't know if Wichita's doing this on purpose, but they are giving us the best example I've ever seen of you don't have to score, you just need to make sure they don't. It feels like Wichita's not even going for goals right now. They're just clearing the ball as consistently and effectively as possible, and that is absolutely a winning strategy. Right now, every time the ball comes through, they just slam it back toward the goal of Lackawanna. They're like, all right, whatever. We score, we score. If we don't, who cares? We're still up by 1, and now with 60 seconds left on the clock, and this is the closest we have seen to a remnant of a comeback from any team this season so far. Aoka almost turns it into a 3-1, but gets in the way just in time. Boone with a great setup into center field. Bozy takes it out. It looks like it's going to be Foshizzle, who goes for another attempt, but just cannot find that lineup. A lot of unfortunate touches and unfortunate lineups. Aoka takes it high. There's a great double tap lineup, but the crossbar just in the way. Foshizzle goes for another attempt and finds it. 37 seconds left on the clock here, folks. 2-2 scoreline. Lackawanna is 1 goal away from winning. Wichita is 1 goal away from giving us our first Game 4 of the season. This is up to either team to lose it and set history right here, right now.
Wichita State got a little bit picked apart on defense there. You saw Ikigai fall off the back wall, and it wasn't a bad idea. It was just the wrong spot to fall down. Resulted in an open net. Now 30 seconds left, and like you said earlier, Septilence, Wichita State has done a great job of clearing the ball out, but now they need to go back to the aggression. You do not want to play too conservative. The net is open. Can he get around? The 50 is successful from JK Foshizzle despite no boost in the tank. Wichita State, though, back on offense again, right in the hands of Aoka. Final 10 seconds, shot comes in, cut off by the defense at the point of contact, into the corner, killed by Bozy, keeping it along the ground. Midfield pass to JK Foshizzle. Shot off the crossbar, the foul is not there. On and in, Aoka walks away with the sweep.
I am... Oh my...
Oh my gosh.
Oh my, what a cool way to end a series. Oh my goodness. I don't even remember who I said was going to win. I don't even remember who I predicted, but that was the best series we've had all season. I'm saying that right now.
Oh yeah.
Holy cow, that was I'm like shaking a little bit. I'm so that was amazing. Lackawanna with the coolest game-winning goal we have seen the entire season. That is one for the history books. Oh my goodness. Now, downside, it was another 3-0, but that was easily the most entertaining 3-0 I may have ever seen. That was so I was so invested in that.
That was incredible. I simply cannot believe, and I'm so glad we have the replay right here already. Because look at this ball. This ball is pixels away from the ground, and Aoka does not give up on it. And I'm really glad we got that replay because that was going to be my point. Aoka did not give up on the play. He saw his opportunity and immediately pounced upon it, and it gives Lackawanna the sweep and the win in this series.
It would have been so easy to just reset overtime,
Oh, absolutely.
and then we'll go from there. But you said it best. Aoka was like, we are not playing in overtime. I think that play was so cool because, like you said, pixels away from imperfection, which would have prevented the goal and forced an overtime. But also, all three players were involved in that play. Nobody was the star-studded player there. It was just pass into pass into pass into goal. And it was just a beautiful, very well executed play. And I feel like my face is red. I'm like, my blood pressure is so high right now. But I just, that was so well calculated. And what an explosive way to end a series. I just cannot get over that.
That was incredible. And you know, we were, what, 37 seconds away or something like that from
37,
game
exactly
4.
37.
But what a series and what a fight from Lackawanna, because like you just pointed out, it would have been easy to just say, okay, let's take this to overtime. I thought the second man on the play was going to be the one to get it into the net, and I thought that there was a good chance of it as well. Wichita State was panicking and panicking badly on the back line. It was that panic that resulted in the goal. But instead, the second man runs away from the play, chases after the defenders. The last man, Aoka, up into the net. Not a chance. The defense is there. What a series from Lackawanna. And not to take away from Wichita State's fight, it looked like they had this one, I should say this game, in the bag, but Lackawanna just too strong.
Yeah, I mean, I said it once, but I'm going to say it again because I thought it was silly. Lackawanna, they are not going to lack a winner here tonight because that was just, I mean, every time I thought they were done, I thought they were down, I thought we were going to get that game 4. They just did something incredible, something so out of left field, something so 1 in a million, like a pixel-perfect goal with 0 seconds left on the clock to win every single game we saw, and that was just... I don't even know. I'm not saying that every team I've never heard of is bad, but for a team I have never heard of to come out and make a statement like that, to give us a series so flippin' entertaining like that, just breathtaking, and that was just, I hope y'all are entertained. If you're not, I don't know what will, because that was just, I'm so flabbergasted at how good that series was. Oh no! We just got terrible news! There's no interview. Man. That stinks. Well, Lackawanna, if you are still watching, I mean, just phenomenal job. I will interview you next time, I hope. But, folks, that means we're instantly thrown into a break because we have one more series left for you here tonight. East Tennessee State University, Florida Southern College. It's up to one of those two teams to try and give us our first game 4 ever. I'm going to say it until it happens. We love you so much. We'll see you right back here in just a couple of minutes. Don't go far. What's up, gamers? Welcome back. We have had 3 phenomenal series. I'm going to be honest, one of them, probably my favorite Rocket League series I've gathered in a really long time. But we have one more here tonight, and it's going to be 2 more 2-1 teams. So this is the chance where both these teams can really prove their weight in gold, because a 2-2 scoreline is notably worse than a 3-1 scoreline, right? That's just how numbers work. We've got East Tennessee State University versus Florida Southern College. Now, Florida Southern College I have seen quite a few times. I'm good friends with their coach, so I know that team very well. East Tennessee, they're the team this time that's got to prove their worth. They're a team I'm very unfamiliar with.
Right, and I've also seen Florida Southern play as well. My school played them last week. They're a fantastic roster, bringing out Soj, Cabot, and the Big Mac against Blue, Fupin, and Landon from ETSU. And for both of these teams, a lot to fight for. 2-1, both of them coming in. Could be another exciting series that we see. And when you walk in with this 2-1 record, again, you want to take this win because you want to give yourself the best opportunity possible to get towards the end of the season and clinch those 1, 2, or 3 seeds.
I think it's really interesting as well when you look at this team who's got, whether it's 2-1 or 8-1, you've got to wonder who that 1 is. Because if it's somebody like Northwood or RIT, it's like, okay, you lost to them. That's kind of expected to an extent, right? But, if they got beaten by somebody of a similar or like lower caliber than that team, then it reveals a lot about them. When there's just that mystery 1 of who that loss is, it really kind of opens that team up into a whole narrative of where do they truly fall in terms of skill or talent. Because you look at, like I said, if you lose to Northwood, oh shucks, you lost to the best team in the country. Like that's gonna happen to somebody. But if they lose to someone who's, on the same par as them, it's like, okay, so this team is beatable by people in their traditional rank.
Certainly, and for predictions, it was a little bit tougher for us, but we both have Florida Southern in this one. Again, it's tough. We haven't seen East Tennessee play yet, but we also know about the Coach Antor buff. That's going to play a factor certainly for Florida Southern, and I still do think that they have a good shot. I think this is going to be another close series. I will never say that this is going to be a Game 4 or Game 5 series ever again.
Never again.
But it does feel like both of these teams have the potential to make this an exciting series, but with what I've seen from Florida Southern, I do think that they have this one.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, same thing I said about Doc Haskell last week, right? Same thing goes for Coach Antor. Anything the dude touches in esports seems like it turns to gold, and maybe Florida Southern is going to show us that here today. But like I mentioned, it's those teams that I haven't seen that I'm always excited to see, because with Florida Southern, there's an expectation to meet. With East Tennessee, it's just kind of this limitless line of how far can they take their first appearance to, I believe, on NACE Star League so far, because if we're not casting them, they haven't been cast, right? That's kind of how that works. So they haven't been on the broadcast yet, and I'm really excited to see how aggressive they can come out the gate here. Is this going to be pedal to the metal hyper offense, or is this going to be inside the turtle shell hyper defense?
And like you said, it's exciting to see when you haven't seen a team compete just yet. We've both gotten to see Florida Southern play. Neither of us have seen East Tennessee, so this could be a team that comes out and plays extremely aggressively, extremely quick. Florida Southern plays that way as well, so could be 2 teams who have the same play style, and that's always a fun one to watch. It's just a matter of how Eastern Tennessee, how their game style is.
It's only a matter of time until we find out, and this is our last series, by the way. I don't know if I said that. If I didn't, I meant to. This is our last series of the night. But the cool thing is, like I talked about earlier, NACE has games pretty much every day of the week. And if you like this one, you drop a follow on the channel, or if you follow NACE on Twitter, they're going to be sure to tweet about them all the time, or at least tweet the weekly schedule. You get notifications when the channel goes live. It's very helpful just to keep up with what's going on in NACE, because, if you show up in week 1 and then again in week 4, scores are going to be a lot different than you left them, and it's important to keep track of what's going on. And if you wanted to follow the casters too, I mean, that would be pretty cool. I wouldn't stop anybody. Our tags are below our names. Oh, I pointed the wrong way. Below our names, if you want to check those out. Just throw that out there.
Yeah, well, certainly would love that one too. And again, for this series, these teams coming in 2-1 apiece. We've gotten to see one of them, haven't gotten to see another. And Florida Southern is another school that has had a deeper run into NACE a couple of years ago. Fall 2019 is when they made, I want to say it was quarterfinals of NACE, and Cabot was actually a member of that roster. I got to see that quarterfinal happen. It was actually against my own school, Aquinas. So he's a fantastic player, sticking around for several years. He can be that leadership for Florida Southern as now they try to make that even deeper run into the playoffs. And again, with 2-1 record, they're setting themselves up with a great opportunity to clinch those first few seeds to try to get themselves into, if anything, the last chance qualifier to make it into the eventual playoffs.
Yeah, because we have 3 weeks after this, somewhere on there, three or 4 weeks, I believe. And this is where it's like, if you ended the season with 7-1 or whatever the total score is going to be, that's sick. That's awesome. That puts you really high up. But if you're looking at 5-2, 4-3, that's really where things start to dwell a little bit harder. That's where you're going to have to fight a lot harder for a spot moving further into the competition.
It certainly is, and this is why both of these teams want to get that win. You drop to 2-2, and in theory, you still have an opportunity. If you think team number 1 is undefeated, team number 2 has 1 loss, you can be that third team sitting with 2 losses. But you don't want to have to force yourself into a situation where you feel like you have to win every remaining series. You want to get the win here and maybe have a little bit of leeway if needed if you face one of those tougher teams later on in the season.
And facing those tougher teams becomes more and more likely as you get to the kind of bracket situation that I think happens eventually, right? I believe we kind of turn into a traditional bracket at some point, and that's when you're only left with the best of the best, and that's where things get really scary. But the cool thing about this is, to make it into NAs, you have to be a certain level of talented, you have to be reaching a certain level of skill, and that's kind of the interesting thing is, even if, and this sounds like such an insult, and I hope that no teams take it this way, even if you come in last place of NAs, you are still the worst of the best. So you're still like a very talented team and a very talented skill. And I think that's what's so interesting about these series is every school we see has been so hyper talented and so impressive with what they bring to the table that when people are getting 3-0'd, it never feels like a 3-0 because it's all raw talent every game.
Certainly is. We're looking to hop into game number 1 now. 2 teams who want to get that win. They want to give themselves that chance later on in the series, and might have a little bit of a false start at first. Not everybody had joined right away, so we will have to get things reset back up, and we can keep talking about this series. And Florida Southern, they looked ready to go. They were hopping out. They were ready. To it, but we got to reset it a little bit. We'll be right back. We'll be back in the match in a moment, but we can keep talking about it and how these players are clearly, ready to go. They want to get this win and try to continue their season.
Yeah, very close to continuing the season, and that was very funny. I think we had that use words. I think we had that lobby issue where it was everybody joined, but then the team thing wouldn't work, and the team, because I saw the what is their name? East Tennessee was in lobby, but they weren't in teams. So I think we had a little bit of a bug error. We had a similar issue earlier, but that's a very easy thing to figure out, so y'all don't even worry about it. East Tennessee will be right back in a minute, and Florida Southern will be as well. But guess what? You guys get to look at Powder and I for a little while longer and hear us talk about what we think is going to be coming up. It's hard to talk about teams we haven't seen, right? We have to do a lot of hypothesizing, a lot of guessing on what's going to be brought to the table, and it's so easy to talk about Florida Southern because we know them, we know what they're bringing to the table. But East Tennessee, we talked about, there's a spectrum where it's insane defense, insane offense, and a team can fall anywhere in between. But something we didn't talk about as much is, will this be the type of team that has a striker? Is this going to be the type of team with a Spade or a Storm on their team, where it's one person kind of really, or an Aoka, one person really taking the helm and coming out super strong? Or is this going to be one of those teams that all 3 players have that strong communication, that have those strong passing plays, those strong demolition into goal plays? Because like I talked about, I think way back in week 1, I don't know if I've brought this up since, is I think that's often what separates the good teams from the great teams, is a good team can have 3 strong players on the same team. A great team is going to have 3 strong players working as a team, doing everything as a full unit, doing everything as a collective 3, rather than 3 good players just doing their best with 2 teammates. You know what I mean? There's that really large growth in a team when they can become that cohesive 3, rather than 3 strong players playing by themselves, essentially.
Yeah, and that's always the hope, is that you have those 3 strong players, but they can play as a cohesive unit. And that's when you watch some of the most fun Rocket League ever, is when you have extremely mechanical players and players that have the game knowledge to know when they can give off a pass, when they can go for a solo play, and how they can perfectly rotate around one another, the communication on point. We'll have to see if Eastern Tennessee is one of those teams, or if maybe like a couple teams earlier where they have one leader who stands out and he helps improve his teammates as well, but he still kind of is that standout player. For Florida Southern, I think they are just one of those teams that have 3 great players. I feel that Cabot's probably the leader, knowing he's been with the roster the longest, most likely. But still, they are 3 great players who play as a cohesive unit. And I think if Eastern Tennessee is one of those teams as well, then again, we have a very good opportunity to see an extremely exciting match tonight.
I think there's this kind of possibility as well. I don't know how old East Tennessee State University, I don't know how old their esports program is. So we could be seeing, a newer team versus, like you said, a veteran team like Florida Southern. So there's a lot of variables going into this that, like we said, we don't really hypothesize on. But the cool thing is we don't have to do that anymore because the game is happening. Soj is coming in quick with some great ball control from Florida Southern, but instead it's going to be ETSU who immediately finds some great value. Blue trapped in the corner here, just circling him like sharks is the majority of FSC. And it's just a classic game one so far, where everybody is just kind of tapping the ball here and there. If you find a goal, it might kind of be on accident, but it's all about reading your opponents right now to find the greatest and easiest successes for your team to walk away victorious.
And both of these teams trying to pry around each other early on, almost an over-aggressive play from Florida Southern, but they do get back in time to get the stop. One man on the back line, it's Soj out to the midfield. Landon will take over looking for a midfield pass going off the corner. Clear out to midfield, not exactly what Florida Southern wants. It's right into the hands of Eastern Tennessee again. Clear out to midfield, again into the hands of Eastern Tennessee. And early on, Florida seems to be struggling a little bit with how to find these clears.
Oh, and Landon had a pretty good setup there for a double tap, but there was no teammate follow-up, and he ran out of boost. So back-to-back unfortunate timing situations, kind of right place, wrong time scenario. Blue coming in quick, again no boost. We're seeing a lot of that happening on the side of East Tennessee, as it's, they use their boost to get to the ball, then they get there, and it's a little bit disastrous. Garrett coming in quick as they're able to find it. Sorry, I said Garrett, didn't I? Cabot coming in quick, looking for the opportunity to play a hard defense, and it feels like, I've got to say, Tennessee has had a bit of a stranglehold on ball control so far, but FSC going for an attempt of their own. Landon catches out in midair with the Big Mac, going to be there to try and save the day. The crossbar disrupts. Here comes a secondary attempt, and that will find purchase. Cabot putting that first point on the board 80 seconds into our first match.
If you're Eastern Tennessee, if you're gonna double commit, one of you needs to find the ball. Both Boopin and Blue go up for it. Neither one finds it, leaves the net wide open. Easy enough for Florida Southern to take advantage of. It's 1-0, over 90 seconds having gone by. Good play from Soj to just keep it low in the midfield. Blue will be there first play at around 1. He has the possession as he looks to give it to Landon. Instead, it's Cabot giving it over towards the corner. Florida Southern will try to gain control and return to offense.
A bit of rotation here from Tennessee as Blue finds it into the far right corner. An immediate pass from Landon into an open goal, but a little bit off center there, and that little bit goes a long way. The ball not able to find purchase in goal, keeping FSC in that advantage with 1 point on the board, 2:50 on the clock, and Tennessee, they're in a situation where, again, I say it every time, if you lose game 1, it's unfortunate, but it's not the end of the world because you've got minimum games 2 and 3 to try to make a comeback. Right now, this is an incredibly low-scoring game for both sides, so it shows these teams are truly neck and neck when it comes to raw skill.
Yeah, they are. We've seen Eastern Tennessee try to pull out some mechanical plays, and although it hasn't worked, it might eventually. They go for another one. The backwards flick will be stopped by the defense. And it feels like Eastern Tennessee's gameplay right now is to kind of give these passes to one another and then go for not exactly a flashy play, but a more mechanical solo play, where Florida Southern is really just doing whatever they can to break out of their defensive half, and their one goal was off of a mistake. So we haven't gotten to see much of them on the offensive half. But as they get it back the other way, we might see an opportunity now. Instead, it's placed behind Soj. They're forced to try to go back to the drawing board.
Back to the drawing board indeed. We're looking at that situation with Florida Southern. They definitely cannot let off the brakes for the next 1 minute and 50 seconds as a single goal from Tennessee forces us into that draw scenario where it will take us into overtime. So Florida State, they've got to go full pedal to the metal the entire time. Putting a second goal down as kind of an insurance policy would really be the ideal condition to meet right now. But at the same time, winning by a single point is still a win, and it looks a little less likely as that's an open goal completely for Tennessee to take advantage of, and they tie things up just as I feared a moment ago at that 1-1, 90 seconds left, 1-1, which is basically 0-0. The next goal we see, Powder, could very likely be the game-winning goal.
It certainly could. You mentioned it's an open net, and the net is only open because you couldn't see it on the replay, but Cabot was bumped as the ball was approaching the net. It was just a perfect play from Eastern Tennessee to get themselves on the board. And a 1v1 is won by Cabot. Beats out the second man. Now with no boost, can steal it in the corner, keeping it away from Blue, allowing Florida Southern to keep it on. Oh, an unfortunate touch from Eastern Tennessee. Not what they want, but they can play around it. We'll try to get it out. A miss, though. High off the back wall. Might want to find that one on your Florida Southern. And and instead sent back the other way from Eastern Tennessee. 1 minute left as they approach on offense. The redirect cannot be found. Instead, it's now the Big Mac looking to get offense back for Florida Southern.
47 seconds left on the clock, and you gotta wonder, are we gonna see another scenario where it's that game-winning timer, that game-winning goal, the seconds left on the clock, that seals the deal for either team, or are we finally gonna get our first overtime, not of the season, but of the night? We did see 2 overtimes last week, but we have seen a whopping 0 so far this week. There's the setup there. Where is the follow-through? Pinched off the corner, and ETSU not able to find that goal. We are still hanging out at that 1-1. No boost in the pocket of Landon there, and that's really gonna hurt them once again. That's, I think, one of the weaknesses we've seen from ETSU so far is the boost management hasn't been great. It feels like every time they need it, they have just run out.
Florida Southern struggling to break out themselves now. Demolition opening things up though, and in the final seconds, the Florida Southern approaching offense, shut down quickly by Eastern Tennessee. Now they get their own opportunity towards open space. This one will drop to the ground, and I think Semblance, this is our first overtime of the day.
Absolutely. This is our first overtime of the day. We've seen 3-0s all the way across the board. We saw 2 games almost touching overtime, but this is the first one to really get us into that bonus time. Now, for those who may be unfamiliar with Rocket League, it is a 5-minute timer that counts down, but if we enter an overtime, that timer will literally go as long as it needs to. The longest overtime I've ever been a part of was 11 minutes, almost 12, it was 11:57. So we could really go for a long time. Now, ETSU tried to make that not happen, but they did fall just a little bit short. And there it is. I mean, that's basically from downtown, right? Is that, come on, that's a goal win. That's from downtown. And Florida Southern, they're going to lose that first game in an overtime. It's a loss, but it's not one to be ashamed of. I mean, that's as close can be without winning.
Certainly not. I'm not sure what happened there in overtime. Maybe a miscommunication. One player was slightly too far up the field. Either way, it's an open net for East Tennessee. They knock it home and get the win in game 1. After coming back, it was Cabot. I want to say it was Cabot early on getting the goal in for Florida Southern. 2 straight, though, from East Tennessee, and they take a hard-fought game 1 win. Both teams with plenty of opportunities.
Yeah, both teams with plenty of opportunities and a little bit of luck and misfortune. We saw quite a few goals kiss the side of the goal, kiss the crossbar. Nobody was there to really break through when necessary, but the goals did find purchase when they needed to, and that gives East Tennessee State University their first game win. They need 2 more to win the series, and Florida Southern still sitting at that 3 to win, but I mean, that's not impossible. That's the whole point of having a best of 5, is that gives teams the opportunity to come back and win games, even if they lose the first 1 or 2.
They do, and it feels like with just a few things to clean up, you know, we saw some awkward defensive plays, like right there at the end, which lost it in overtime. Just maybe miscommunication or over-aggressive play. Tough to say, but either way, Florida Southern is still well within this series. Just got to clean up a few things and maybe take advantage of some of the chances they're getting on offense, and they will be right back into this to try to extend the series and try to get themselves the win.
It's interesting because I feel like a lot of the mistakes I thought I was seeing from East Tennessee didn't have kind of a large impact on the outcome of the game. A big issue I saw was they weren't utilizing boost properly, they weren't managing it appropriately, and they never had it when they needed it. But a lot of the goals they found were just kind of Hail Mary shots from center field that found purchasing goals. So maybe they're playing in a style where boost isn't as necessary as a hyper-aggressive up-close play style like Florida Southern is trying to bring to the table. Now, an immediate opportunity at goal from ETSU is going to fall just a little bit short, but the second one here might find a little bit more purchases. That was an open goal for a moment. Soj gets there with plenty of time on the clock. The Big Mac does as well. And I don't know if I'm going to call that a triple commit, but all 3 members of FSC just kind of hanging out in the same corner for a moment.
Yeah, just some more awkward play on the defensive end for Florida Southern, and now giving away the ball. Open net. Can he slot it through? The defender getting there, making the stop. It's towards the side now. Florida Southern looking for an offensive opportunity, but instead they just hand it right into Landon. Now it's up for Blue. He looks for the double. Can he knock it home? No, defender gets there in time, but Landon will keep it going. Florida Southern's been a little bit of a struggle on the defensive end for themselves, getting some opportunities and getting some stops.
No way!
Oh, the save comes out after the demolition, sticking through it as Florida Southern, and they keep this game knotted.
I mean, that is the second time we've seen a play like that from ETSU in this game alone. It kisses the sidebar, does not go into goal, and it keeps them at that big old goose egg. Blue gonna go for an opportunity here through the corner. It's gonna be a pass into a teammate, but unfortunately that lineup just not there when they needed it. Landon finds a really good steal of ball momentum, knocks it toward the goal of FSC, but is not gonna find that purchase. A lot of back and forth. This feels more like a game 1 than game 1 did, as neither team has really been able to secure a dominance on ball control yet.
No, not quite yet. We keep going back and forth. Maybe Florida Southern will take over now. But again, just giving the ball away. That's been a common theme, at least throughout this game from Florida Southern. So when they get it clear, it's right into the hands of an East Tennessee player. Opportunity in the net, but just no boost. They'll get there in time. It's a back wall pass. Soj can't be there, but the Big Mac will. Shot put away by the defender. Now they got to race back quickly. Landon is up, plays it over towards Blue. It's a back pass behind Fupin. Over towards the side now as Soj forced to try to keep it going, and he can, but not for long as East Tennessee right back to it.
The setup there from Florida Southern was perfect. It was the follow-through that unfortunately just fell a little bit short. Nobody's able to pick up that goal, and that's going to put them at that 0-0 situation. We've got 2:50 now on the clock, not a single goal in sight. We're getting ready to enter our second half, and neither team has been able to secure that dominance we've seen in a lot of other series so far today. Now, folks, remember, we have seen 11 3-0 series in a row, and this is really shaping up to show that this could still be a 3-0 at the end of the day, but it's going to be a close one, because this is the lowest scoring series we've seen. I'm not positive, but I think this is the lowest scoring series we've seen this season so far.
It's honestly gotta be. You know, we haven't seen any series where we've even seen 1-0 games.
Right.
2-1 in game one means that, yeah, very likely one of the lowest scoring and defensive battles that we've seen. Oh,
no
what
way!
A shot from Soj coming out of nowhere from the ceiling. And what a goal for Florida Southern to open.
Soj just creeping above the goal, drops it straight down. You never expect the angle to be there, but unfortunately a member of ETSU drives underneath the ball. It's going to bounce right in, kind of steals the momentum away, and that is a goal for FSC. They have put themselves back on the board. They've shown potential, and now they are 2 minutes and 10 seconds away from winning game 2.
Still, though, plenty of time for East Tennessee to make the comeback, so you got to stand tall on the back line. We've seen close calls multiple times for East Tennessee to get it into the net. Haven't found it just yet, however. Going for the bump on Fupin, can't land it. Down in front, nobody there yet. Now it's Blue taking over behind Cabot. Opportunity to be found from East Tennessee. Soj is there looking for Cabot. Not a lot of boost left, but he does pinch it behind one to get the offense set up. Losing the challenge to Fupin. Out in the midfield behind one. Soj to keep it going again. Florida Southern looking like their confidence building a little bit in East Tennessee. Starting to panic. The double commit coming out. And the Big Mac will hold offense longer.
Yeah, that double commit was definitely unfortunate from ETSU as things really kind of fell apart a little bit. There was nobody to play a consistent defense, and it's not going to kind of mess them up completely as they do find a pretty dominant ball control late into the game. We've got 72 seconds left on the clock. Florida Southern, they are up by a single point, but folks, I cannot make this clear enough. 1 point is all you need to win by, and they are looking to do just that. We've got 63 seconds on the clock. And it is up to ETSU to score to force another overtime and see if they can pinch out game 2 the same way they did with game 1. A great double tap opportunity, but the Big Mac gets in the way at the perfect time. Nobody's there to catch it on the side of East Tennessee, not Texas, I'm sorry. 48 seconds as FSC is getting closer and closer to winning this second game.
It was an interesting play earlier on from East Tennessee in the offensive half. I thought Landon was going to push for it and get the goal. Ooh, but he didn't go for it. Now this time putting the pressure on a little bit too quick. Can't land it yet. Good midfield pass. Landon's there now.
Come on.
Stop is made. And Fupin a little too aggressive. Shot still there, put away by the defense. Time continuing to wane away for East Tennessee as the Big Mac out now, or I believe Cabot gets the clear for even longer. And now it's Cabot coming forward to keep the offense on. East Tennessee running out of time, but they do get the clear in the final seconds. Blue winning the challenge. It does go into the hands of Cabot again. Dropping to the ground. Fupin is beaten out. And Soj towards the other side. Off into the corner. Still alive for East Tennessee. Fupin towards the side now. Straight into the air. Landon, you can see him on screen. Plenty of boost. It isn't found. And Septilence, my gosh, I used to pray for times like these. We finally are going to game 4.
Oh my goodness, the one time, all we had to do was not say it, Powder. All we had to do was not say it, and we are finally, folks, 11 3-0 series in a row, and the curse is finally broken by who? None other than Florida Southern. My goodness, what a way. We saw, I think, there was a moment with about less than a minute left, 40-something seconds. We saw 4 attempts at goal from East Tennessee State University, and Florida Southern blocked every single one. If they slipped by a pixel, that would have gone into another overtime, possibly for East Tennessee to win this series, but they did not slip up for even a moment, and that secured them the Game 2 victory. Going into Game 3, we are essentially tied up once again. It's not even essentially, folks. We are literally tied up for the first time In NACE Star League this season history, we are tied up 1-1 on the board. This is truly, more than any other series we've seen, anybody's game to take.
Oh my gosh, it certainly is. And with the way that Florida Southern won that as well, you know, it's not the momentum that you get from an overtime win like East Tennessee got in game 1, but the hard-fought battle it took on the back line there late in the game. Like you said, multiple attempts, well, up to 4 shots coming out from East Tennessee late. Florida Southern stopped every single one. They stood tall. They didn't allow it to get even close. And because of it, they tie the series, extend their life a little bit longer. As we head into game 3, we'll have to see if Florida Southern keeps up that momentum.
Blue coming in quick, trying to establish an early ball dominance for ETSU, and it's not going to be able to find that lineup quite yet. Going to give another shout out to Extra Life. Change kids' health to change the future. Join their super team page today. Seriously, guys, go check out Extra Life. If you love esports, you're going to love what they're doing. I promise. 20 seconds off the clock now. ETSU trying to find some dominance quickly, but it's just a lot of ball control with no true momentum off the back of it. We're seeing players from the side of ETSU, a lot of passing back and forth, but that's the first strike towards goal we've really seen, and it was unsuccessful. So FSC a little shaky in the first half minute here, but they've got plenty of time to turn things around.
Great start from both teams, though Florida Southern a little bit of a struggle to break out. It's right into the hands of Blue, but Fupin can't land it. It doesn't matter. Maybe call it a trick play from East Tennessee. They got the first lead of game 3.
The first lead of game 3 is exactly what they need. That goal, yeah, I don't know if that's a trick play or not, but hey, it goes in, and that's the important part. So they find that goal, they put it down 1 point on the board, and as we just learned and saw from FSC, you only need 1 to win it, and maybe ETSU is fully aware of that fact. That is not going to stop them from trying to score as many points as humanly possible.
East Tennessee back onto offense again, making one man miss, only one man back, powerfully off the corner. It's off the crossbar, and he can't get around on it to get the shot. Lupin keeping the offense on, won't land it this time. Cabot awkwardly into the corner, does beat out one, can't beat out the second, allowing both to turn. It's a double commit, and this actually results in a little bit of Florida Southern offense. Nobody there in time, though. Instead, it's Blue into the air, still with control, looking to pinch this off the defender. Instead, it's into the corner again. And East Tennessee doing a great job of holding possession. Pass off the back wall, but Blue forced to rotate back. 2-on-1 up the field, chasing him down. Gets the bump, but he actually fights through it. Still gets the ball, and more offense for East Tennessee.
I really thought Cabot was just going to walk that in. I mean, that seemed so possible. So it's going to get caught out by Landon. Here, Cabot goes in quickly, and it's going to be a little bit more action. The triple commit, or triple attempt, rather, still going to be foiled. Soj finds ball control in favor of FSC once again. And I'm really starting to wonder, Powder, as we're seeing kind of this hyper-aggressive gameplay, but low scoring. Is this going to be another 1-0 victory? That feels like a very real possibility.
It does at this point. You know, Florida Southern's doing a better job on the back line, but still it's a little bit of a struggle for them to get a clear towards one another. They finally do it here, almost behind the Big Mac as he was challenged on it. Now it's the Big Mac himself getting it forward. But for Florida Southern, they really haven't had a sustained offense up to this point. It's almost the longest that they've spent in the offensive half in this game. Good challenge. Can he beat out Fupin on the back line? Tries to pass at midfield, but no one is there. Oh, but everybody turns off the ball for East Tennessee. The shot, though, is wide. Florida Southern has to go back towards it one more time.
We are in the second half now. ETSU still up by a single point. I want to remind everybody that a total of 5 points have been scored this entire series. It was 2-1, it was 1-0, and right now we are still sitting at a 1-0. I mean, this is easily the lowest scoring series we have seen in NACE Star League this season so far, and I really think that's fascinating because it feels like it's so high octane, it's so high speed, but at the same time, everybody is canceling each other out so effectively that nobody has been able to score efficiently. A lot of the scores, a lot of the goals have been off of a luck, have been off of a spur-of-the-moment play that has really worked out well for either team. It has been off some kind of wild, off-the-wall, bounce-off-the-ceiling situation. I just think that is so fascinating because I feel like we've seen a lot of dominance so far, but this game, more than I think any other we've seen, except maybe last series, is truly the most neck and neck.
It certainly is, and Florida Southern feels like they're building up the pressure more as this game goes on, but with an overcommit like that, it's going to set up an East Tennessee offense again. Landon on the rotation, just banging this one towards net. Cabot, easy enough stop, and the Big Mac will follow it. Now it's up to Soj to try to keep it going. Unfortunately, he's beaten out by Fupin in the midfield for Landon. Has space to work with. Now the Big Mac into the air. little bit behind Foop. An awkward play, forced to back pass as now Big Mac will try to go for it. Instead beat now by East Tennessee again. The net is open, but Landon, not a lot of boost, has to hook
No
shot.
way.
Slots it in top right. East Tennessee's got a 2-0 lead.
That 2-0 lead is feeling mighty comfortable here, Powder, as that is going to be 52 seconds left. Now, if you look at raw statistics here, in 4 minutes, FSC hasn't been able to put a point on the board. So analytics would suggest that in 1 minute, they shouldn't be able to do that. But that's the weird thing about Rocket League, is analytics statistics, they hardly matter. 97% of the regular statistics are made up anyway. So it's like, when you put them into Rocket League, that's where things really start to get weird, because each and every individual minute is practically brand new, from the minutes before and the minutes after it. It's each and every minute, each and every second being played out by these players has an infinite number of possibilities, and it's down to these players to decide which one of those we experience here today.
30 seconds left, Florida Southern. In theory, still time, but they need to get it going quickly, and they haven't really had many chances early on. And Blue going for the ceiling flick. Can't land it that time. Behind Landon, maybe giving Florida Southern their best chance yet, but Cabot didn't expect Soch to not go for it. Chasing down Blue, double commit for the shot, and it results in a miss. And that one will all but secure game number 3. Florida Southern will need to win 2 in a row if they want to come back and extend their season to 3-1.
This is going to be, you know, Powder, this is really, we were going to that game 4 for the first time, and I feel like a little kid on Christmas right now. I'm so unbelievably eager to see that first game 4, because I think Rocket League really has this unique, what's the word I'm trying to say? This unique aspect of it where going past the best of 3 situation is where teams can really start to take advantage of what they've learned in those first couple of games. And that's what I tried to talk about earlier, but it was a 3-0, so I didn't really get to prove the points. But you've now got to experience this team more than any other team has this season in NA's. You're really getting to know their play styles, their strengths, their weaknesses, and of course it goes back to what I'm always talking about. It goes back to what you do with what you've learned. If you just sit on it and try to play the exact same game, you're going to lose the exact same game. You know, it's the definition of insanity is doing the exact same thing 1,000 times and expecting a different outcome. But if you take that information, you modify your play style, and you modify all of your expectations going into it, what you're going to be doing, how you're going to be scoring, what you're doing with boost, that's how you turn a series around.
It is, and for Florida Southern, really need to turn things around because it was a hard-fought win in Game 2, but unfortunately,
Absolutely.
East Tennessee turned things completely on its head and really suffocated Florida Southern in their own half. We didn't get to see the Florida Southern offense play like it did in Game 2, and because of that, East Tennessee really just controlled basically the entire game. Like I said, Florida Southern, not many opportunities, and they looked a little bit uncomfortable defensively. I think it's up to Florida Southern to kind of change the narrative now and bring that kind of attitude right back at East Tennessee, try to get themselves a win to extend this to a Game 5.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Could you imagine we go from Game 4 into Game 5? I'd pass out right here on stream, I swear. I'd be so excited. It's going to be FSC in, like you said, that 1-game disadvantage for the time being, but ETSU, they're up by 1. What do we always say about being up by 1 in Rocket League? It is a false sense of security. I think that goes even into the series score itself. You've really got to walk away. You have not won until you've won. It is not over until it is over. And ETSU, I'm sure, is more than aware of that fact. FSC, they're going to fight tooth and nail, 200%, try and take us all the way to that golden Game 5.
Early on, it's East Tennessee back to the same style that they had in the previous game, just sending it all towards the offense. This time, though, right at Cabot. Not exactly what he wants, though. It's just giving away possession over to Landon. Big Mac takes it off of his head. Ooh, a miss there. Landon coming in to clean it up. It is still favorable for Florida Southern as now they take over. Trying to keep it close as Cabot, but it's given away to Blue once again. Off the side, slight double commit from Florida Southern. Still results in possession as Soj now towards the back wall. A fake from Cabot. Blue able to read it. And early on, both teams kind of back and forth. Not really many serious opportunities early on.
Not many serious opportunities at all. Game 4 feeling a lot more like Game 1. We're seeing a classic kind of volleyball situation where the ball is just bounced back and forth over that center field. A little bit of action now for ETSU. Bottom corner, Soj there to disrupt it, but it's a bit of a 2v1 scenario, trying to find some opportunities for FSC to strike. A little bit of perfect timing could have turned into a goal, but that would have been more of a miracle than a calculated play. And as we burn through our first 90 seconds, still hanging out at that 0-0, we are just experiencing one of the most back and forth games I have seen in a long time.
I like Florida Southern's chances a lot more
I
here.
agree.
It doesn't seem like Florida Southern has that same control that they did previously. It feels like Florida Southern has brought it back to at least even. It doesn't feel like Florida Southern necessarily has an advantage just yet, but they aren't allowing East Tennessee to get as comfortable. Cabot powerfully off of the offensive player. Now he'll pinch it forward into the hands of Fupin. He has to give it away. Actually, nobody is there from Florida Southern. Instead, it's Landon back into the midfield again. Florida Southern, it's Big Mac trying to get the offense back, starting to approach halftime, still scoreless, and Fupin back in again for East Tennessee.
Half this time bank already gone. We're sitting at 2 minutes and 31 seconds left on the clock. Still hanging out at those big old goose eggs for both teams, ETSU and FSC, at that 0-0. It's crazy because without trying to talk down to these teams, I don't feel like anybody's even gotten close here in Game 4. It has been such a consistent back and forth. We've seen a couple of maybe attempts, but it hasn't really been anybody going for that true shot on goal. Now, as I say that, it looks like we might see that first opportunity and success from ETSU. 2 minutes and 9 seconds left on the clock. They're up by 1. They've won by 1. And now they need to win just 1 more game to walk away 3-1 victorious on the series.
And this is such a smart play from Fupin because the Big Mac in net, he starts to predict the pass coming out because that's usually how you play that off the back row, is you go for the pass. But he draws him out by keeping it close and immediately goes for the doomsy, gets the goal in, and East Tennessee is 2 minutes away from walking away with this series in Game 4. Florida Southern certainly going to fight tooth and nail to try to bring this to a Game 5. They're already down by 1. So with the offense, though, right into the hands of Landon again. Is it a little bit far out in front of him, so the Big Mac now able to take over, not able to get past 1. Soj will turn, beat out 1, but he needs to keep this going.
The nails have been lined up in the coffin, but they haven't been hammered in quite yet, and that's exactly why. Because of spur-of-the-moment plays from players like Cabot. Comes in, finds that goal, 90 seconds left on the clock, and FSC all of a sudden are breathing back to life. We don't even have to use the defibrillator because they were never going down without a fight. They're looking to go out with a bang instead of a whimper, and they are getting danger close to doing just that. 88 seconds left on the clock here, Powder. This is truly anybody's series right here, right now.
Florida Southern huge to come back and get that goal, and still with plenty of time left as well, not allowing themselves to have to play aggressively to try to tie this one up. So plenty of time. What a challenge, though, from Blue. Will follow it up himself and get that lead right back into the hands of East Tennessee.
Now that is unfortunate. Just the bounce off of the Big Mac directly into the claws of Blue, waiting mere feet away into what was revealed to be an open goal. Now ETSU, there's 1:11 on the clock. They're up by 1. All they need to do is burn out this clock, and they can take down FSC and move out further into the series. This would bump them up 3-1.
Fortunate play there. You heard me say it. It was such a great passing play, at least the idea of it. Weren't able to knock it into the net, but still something to look for. The final 50 seconds for Florida Southern. Pass back to Fupin. He has to turn back, though. Sees the offense starting to push up. Now he goes aggressively for it, beating out 1. Still with possession as it bounces off the corner. Not the touch that Florida Southern wants. Getting the challenge out. Instead, it's Blue, though. Tight angle shot off the backboard. No one going for the challenge. He does late, but 30 seconds are left. Florida Southern stuck on their own half. Need to get the other way. They do for a moment, but it is into the hands of East Tennessee again. Another long clear out, this time towards Cabot. He can't reach it, though. Time ticking away for Florida Southern. So he's looking for the back wall, cut off by Landon. The Big Mac is up, gets the challenge right towards Blue. Behind 1, rolling straight down. Can't get the shot, so Florida Southern stays alive. Keeping this one away, but they gotta get it off the ground. Flicks it up, just nothing left in the tank, picks up the 100, but sent behind him, dropping to the ground, and East Tennessee walks away with the series.
And there it is. That is going to be the victory. Like you said, ETSU walking away with the series 3-1 in the Fashion Hour, first 3-1 of the season. And folks, now I can finally stop bringing it up because it has finally stopped happening.
You never have to hear us say how many 3-0s we had in a row. It stops at 11.
To be fair,
the curse has been lifted.
To to be fair, 11's got to be some kind of record. I mean, that's
Oh, yeah.
insane. Like that's got to be. But I mean, it was just it was a good run. But I'm glad to see a change of pace. And what an opener from ETSU. This was their first appearance on stream this season, and they made a statement. Now I've got to say, Florida Southern doing it. Florida Southern things really coming out strong, keeping it danger close. And I still believe that is our lowest scoring series of the season so far. I'm not positive on that, but my brain is really telling me that I feel like every other series we've seen, there's been at least one game that's like 7-1, 8-1, something like that. We never saw one of those. I think there were 7 points in total, 8 points in total of the entire series. So an incredibly low scoring series, but a win is a win is a win. And I've got to say, ETSU really showed some dominance there toward the end of that series, just not allowing Florida to get even an opportunity to strike.
No, certainly not. East Tennessee, especially kind of later in the series. We saw Florida Southern control it a lot more in game 2, but after that, East Tennessee turned things around and just, like I had said, in between games 3 and 4, just suffocated Florida Southern. And we didn't see it as much in game number 4, but still, Florida Southern struggled to find offense. They struggled to find sustained clears to one another. And it really just resulted in East Tennessee controlling that possession, controlling the offense, and overall controlling the flow of the game, which helped them build out that lead and eventually take the series.
Without a doubt. And I'm excited because I think we're going to get to talk to Blue from ETSU in just a couple of seconds here. And it's going to be exciting to hear because I think this was... I mean, obviously, it's our first game 4. This is one of our more back-and-forth series that we've ever seen, and I want to know kind of what was going through the minds of those players in that moment. Did they change anything, or were they just going with, you know, we won one game, let's try to do it again. Let's try the same thing over and over, because that's always, you know, what we can only hypothesize out here. We can't hear the comms, we can't hear the intentions, but that's why I love the interviews so much, because we really get into the heads of someone who we just watched win. So I always love to hear kind of what was their strategy to getting where they got.
Certainly, and especially with that loss in game 2 as well, we can get to see kind of what maybe went into their minds as they were hopping into game number 3, something that we haven't gotten to ask any other interviewee yet this season. So it'll be interesting to see how they kind of turn things around, because it wasn't just like they made a couple adjustments, it was they completely changed the series around, and like we said, just gained that control and did not let it go.
And it was really fascinating because back during, I don't even remember which series we've seen so much today. I think it was during our second series today, we mentioned how sometimes it's okay to play a little bit slower. Winning by a point is still winning. And then we had that point proven here by, I think, both of our teams. While they played fast, they never played so fast they were putting their own goal at risk. I don't think we saw any open goals this series. I'm not positive on that, but I don't think we did.
I don't think so either, and even if it wasn't like just an overcommit where it's just an obvious open net. It was really just kind of set up. We did see one where Cabot was bumped off, but again, it's because of the play from the offense, not the defense. It was overall a very clean series, which is why, again, all the props to East Tennessee, because they had to fight for this one. There weren't really any freebies given away from Florida Southern.
Not in the slightest. This was a very earned victory from them, and there's only, you know, we keep talking about how you look at if you've got the 0 in your loss column, if you've got the 1 in your loss column, and it looks like they're going to carry that 1 at least 1 week further, maybe even further into the future. They've shown some really great talent so far, and I want to see if they come in next week kind of walking away with what they've learned this week, or if they're just going to come in next week and give us the same rundown of let's try to win game 1 and go from there.
Certainly, we'll just have to see kind of what their perspective is, especially heading into the rest of the season, as now we're wrapping up midway through the season. These teams are really now starting next week, making that serious push towards the end of the season, towards getting the second, at the worst, the second and third seeds to get into the last chance qualifier. And for those teams that are sitting more towards the top, trying to clinch that number 1 seed to get straight into the conference championships. So it's going to be a very exciting end of the season. We're not there quite yet, but I'm really excited to see how these teams are kind of preparing as they're ready to head in towards the part of the season where they really need to grind.
Yeah, and I'm really excited as well because I feel like we often see, you know, in different tournaments, like you'll see a team that's like 5-0 and everybody's kind of like, okay, that team's going to win. And they probably do, right? But here, even the teams that have put 1 or 2 losses under their belts are still coming out with some of the highest collegiate caliber gameplay I've seen in a really long time. And I think that's the point I was trying to hone in on earlier, is that, you know, even if you don't perform super strong in the beginning of the season, you're going up against some of the best teams in the country. You are in a division with the literal #1 ranked team in the country. Like, there's just, you're playing the highest possible caliber of the collegiate experience right now. So even if you walk away from this with a negative season, I hope that the players can at least walk away knowing they've learned a lot and they found a lot of great knowledge. And speaking of players, we finally get to talk to one now. We're going to talk to Blue from ETSU. That was a lot of words. Blue, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
We are doing all right. I mean, that was our first Game 4 of the season. I don't know if you're aware of that. That's the first time we've had a Game 4 in 4 weeks, 3 weeks. I don't know how long we've been here, but the point is it was a great series. So, Blue, my first question for you is, Game 1 is... I don't want to use the word dominant because it was a 2-1 victory. It was very close. Game 2, also very close, but you guys ended up losing it. So what happens in that moment with your team? What do comms look like when you're going to shift from, okay, we won, now we've lost, let's step it back up to that winner spot?
So basically, we picked up on, we had like a minute of in between games to, I guess, talk about what we were doing wrong. And I guess our main one was we just weren't conserving boosts and whatnot, just simple stuff. So we just basically just picked up on that. I mean, and we just picked up on what we're lacking on, I guess.
Yeah, and for my first question as well, do you guys kind of play a more team-oriented play style? Because I saw you guys go for a lot of plays that seemed to be clearly communicated, whether it was a pass or we pointed out one where Cabot was bumped on the back line. So is that kind of your play style?
Yeah, we're really, we try to play as fast and as aggressive, but also in a controlled manner as we can, because that's how you really be at the top. That's how we got to 4th place in the first qualifiers for CRL yesterday. So we're feeling pretty hot, but we didn't do too well. We lost one, but it was picked up one.
Still sounds like a fantastic run. And between that run and now the win tonight, how are you feeling about the rest of your season? We just talked about it where we're now in the back half where you guys, especially now at 3-1, have an excellent opportunity to get, at the very worst, the 2 and 3 seeds to get into the last chance qualifier. So what's kind of your prep and how are you guys feeling as you head towards the later stages of the season?
Oh, we're so excited. It's all gas, no brakes is like what I like to tell the team. We're just gotta keep going, keep improving, picking up on what we've been not doing the best in, and improving as we go on. I have really high hopes for us and this team because we've been putting in the work and hours of nonstop sweat and grind.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean that definitely shows. You guys have made a statement here, and 3-1 is like Powder mentioned. That's very good. So we are very excited to see what comes next. But before we let you go, is there anybody you would like to give a general shout out or just a thank you to?
I actually want to give a big shout out to the coach for basically just being there. He's perfect with organizing the team, telling us to take a deep breath, especially whenever we lost the second game. And I appreciate him. Shout outs to him, Coach Jeff.
Absolutely. Shout out Coach Jeff, no doubt. Well, Blue, thank you so much for joining us, and a huge congrats to you and your team tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
And with that, folks, we are unfortunately gonna call it a night. I feel like I'm actually content tonight. Usually I'm like, unfortunately, because I want more Rocket League, but tonight was a banger of a night. We had some amazing series.
Yeah, I mean, we had what? We had the 0-second goal earlier on. We have our first Game 4. It was, I mean, yeah, it was satisfying to say the least. It was a fantastic night of matches.
Without a doubt. And folks, we are unfortunately going to call it a night, but we've got Call of Duty and Valorant kind of coming up for you on Wednesday. We've got Super Smash Bros. Ultimate on Thursday, and we've got CSGO on Friday. Before we call it, I just, of course, want to give a huge shout out to our production in the back line. There's a whole team of them doing everything that isn't Powder and I sitting in our houses. They are covering everything else you guys are seeing. A shout out to all 8 teams we see tonight and their coaches and anybody that's making those teams possible as well. And of course, all of you for watching. Cannot forget Extra Life, Corsair, Monster, BetterHelp, Duncan, and Mavix, because we could not do any of this without any of them. So thank you all so much for watching. We love each and every one of you. Check your posture, drink some water, don't forget to love each other, and we'll see you next week for some more Nace Starly Rocket League.